I bet you.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Agenda approved.
Couple sets of minutes.
No, just wonder. Oh, I missed that meeting.
Which one do you want first?
I'll make a motion to approve the November 14th minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 14th minutes are approved. The motion to approve minutes from the 21st.
I guess it'd just be me and you. I'll make a motion to approve those. Oh, yeah, you're here too, I forgot. Sorry, Deegan. I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second.
There you go.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
John, are you and I?
John, you and I?
Yeah, I
Aye.
can hear me.
Opposed, say nay. Minutes approved.
Abstain.
Communications.
Nothing official this week.
Lucky. Buckle up.
Buttercups.
All right, let's start with Board of Health. I had that on Wednesday. That was actually a pretty easy meeting. The iSmile coordinator for Iowa County, she's actually through Johnson County Public Health, was there.
Go back, I need to do what you said.
All the like free dental stuff for kiddos that goes through Medicare or Medicaid, and state funding, I should say. But one good thing is we're the #1 county to return dental screening certificates, and they think that's because of school nurses, which are provided through Compass, so that's a good sign. And then we were talking about some issues with transportation, so Lori's gonna give them Becky's number so that way we can coordinate some more transportation for kids to make their appointments. Then I had an EMA meeting, zoomed into that. We approved the budget amendment mainly to take in grant money and then to get the CO2 sensor. And then I had landfill board all on the same day. And where do I want to start? So one thing to note is I voted no on this, but they did vote to increase the assessment for all of the entities by $1, so that's gonna go up to $31. They also voted to buy or allow him to get a dozer for up to $200,000. I was a no on that. And then I can go over the rate changes that he proposed. There's a lot of them that he's taking away because it doesn't make sense to charge people to bring them because they're either putting them in piles where they don't belong, or like mixing them in with their garbage instead of just separating them. So he wants to take the following down to no charge: ballast, fluorescent bulbs, small electronics, large electronics, and antifreeze. Livestock was another thing. It used to charge $50 an animal. So whether you had,
Wait, they take animals?
I guess,
You can dispose.
It's cheaper than a renting truck.
I know, you gotta haul it there.
We got all of there, but it's.
I never knew that.
Never have.
Yeah, I had a dump trailer, it wouldn't be bad.
The problem is that if you're taking a goat, it's $50. If you're taking a horse, it's $50. So they're gonna treat that by weight.
Is there like a separate hole then for them?
I honestly don't know, because I've never done it,
I think they bury them.
but I mean, I think it's, yeah, they just put it in with
They said something about barium.
Okay, just never needed to took down.
There's some more. Oh, use oil. I think you wanted to take the free as well, and then concrete, I don't remember what they decided. There's a lot of talk about concrete and, what they wanted to do with it, because there are people that want it for, you know, their river projects and
River
things. Yeah. I think they voted to go with the $10 a ton, and it was currently $0 a ton, but we're gonna have it ground by Shaw or something, in his name. So that will help cover that expense.
Otherwise, you can end up getting a bunch of buildings, you know, if you take it for free.
Yeah. So then the last thing was the ordinance, which I was obviously a no on. I can pass that around here later once we get going and you guys can flip through it. I mean, the number one reason why I was a no on it was because we got this packet at 8:30 in the morning, and I obviously had lots of other meetings all day, so I didn't have time to review it. I didn't think properly to give it a full yes or no. But there are some general concerns that I have with it. But it won't come to us for a little while, because it's gotta go through a 28E change as well, so. Is that it? And then I have a,
Wait. We'll pass it in Lou's hands before it gets, Lou Junior's hands before it gets done.
I think so. And then I have an economic development planning, meeting today, this afternoon, so it's been a crazy busy week.
Is Grayson Jones still on that? Ask him if he wants to be on the, well, he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah,
He called me.
yeah, I agree. Okay,
That'd be my choice.
yeah, I can do that.
Yes.
You're done?
I think so, yeah.
I had workforce development yesterday, and I went in person because they were having a open house at their new place out by Kirkwood College, and it's a really nice place, and the meeting was good. Basically, just like normal, everything's going good, but they are gonna try to get us some metrics of like what they've helped for our county, the different counties, the 7 different counties, so that'd be interesting to see, but because they're wanting to reach out more to the outer counties, but rather than just Lynn, of course, they get a lot of people from Lynn, but they have helped a few people out, so they're gonna get us those numbers. And that's it.
Okay, I got a call from Bear. They want called me about going look at the county home. There's some broken windows, see what's gonna take to fix some of those. Several broken windows.
How they get broke?
Yeah.
They're cracked, they're not broken out.
And Chris, could you slide your phone like over to the edge of your desk? I can't hear Kevin.
Turn it around and then put it on the edge.
I got a call from Bear about going out there and looking at broken windows, cracked windows at the county home, and some of them slide. I think you guys know about REA and the sewer system. The sewer was bad.
Oh.
I think we talked about it last week, didn't we?
Well, Wednesday, or Tuesday when we had.
Oh, sorry. And then, it's the distribution box that's all that's bad, and to me, it sounds like that's the cheapest, least
Fixed.
problem would be.
Yep.
So they get that, it should be fixed by now.
Yep. I got the email this morning.
Oh, it is done then. Had an easy conversation, thanks, Chris, about hiring the replacement, so that's gonna be about a 6-month job, is what it sounds.
There you go. You're welcome.
And then the other thing was, Aaron didn't want to do the one review thing, he didn't understand it, and didn't think he's the right fit.
So we can appoint someone else to the housing trust fund.
My suggestion was Jason, I think his banking background would be perfect.
He said it's all like bankers and finance people on there.
Oh, was it, right?
Was Tony Hokie?
Yeah.
Tony Hook was ours.
Okay,
And
I had no idea.
He did a fine job.
Okay, so yeah, I'll ask Grayson today.
I think that's all I have.
If not, if he doesn't want to do it, Susan Kane would be good as well.
Who?
Susan Kane out of Midwest One and
Yeah.
North English.
Okay, I don't know who it is, but I'm
She's
okay.
really nice. I could ask her as
She
well.
from the county, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good point, but she's in.
I didn't know. I figured we had to have a representative from our own county.
Did you want anything from me, Kevin?
Do you have anything going on this week, John? Do you got any meetings?
Yeah, I just had the Veterans Commission meeting. Went really well. I don't know if you saw the Facebook post, but they're collecting for the veterans home over there in the courthouse, and they've already filled the box completely full. It's really been, people have really been generous. Other than that, I had an RGB meeting, and we had really no action items. We just discussed the options of the radio system. That's about it. So that's all I had this week.
Okay, instead of jumping down below, just let me get caught up in signing.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I guess one thing we could communicate about was we all got a letter from the 911 board back, which I thought was interesting. I'm not quite sure if they understand that they have to follow open meeting law or not, but that could be a major issue.
What do you mean by that?
You can't have an online meeting like that.
They did have an online, that was, I can say, it did say that. That they had an online meeting.
That's how they voted, was on the email.
That's why we always have to be careful how we talk.
I know, I mean, we're pretty, I think as a board, we're really careful about that.
Yeah, I'm just reiterating that.
Yeah.
So you have fun, find out, make sure you send all these. Some are one, some are. Jeez, where do we get? Let's have to see the other ones. Well, I figured if I sign first, then the next person should notice we're missing a page.
You missed the page, Ken.
Right, Nick.
Good morning.
See? Told you.
Morning, Nick.
Morning.
And it's Kristen.
Who said that?
What's that?
It's a genie in a phone.
Really, a couple of these? Only one. Okay, so everything.
I think just do three.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were the ones there.
Wonderful.
I mean, you can like bail on us.
What do you guys want to talk about first?
Do you remember one item, are we supposed to be in closed session for that, or is that supposed to work?
I don't know. I know you guys.
I think we need, probably need to go to closed session.
Huh?
Or I think Galloway wanted us to go into closed session, didn't he?
Yes, let's do that last thing.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay. The bridge on D Avenue, they're grading the board of like some new wall stuff yesterday, but should be closer to wrapping that up. Our guys, ditching, dragging, spot rock. We're gonna be wrapping the ditching part up as far as hauling it. Over the flowbacks, get that skid loader going to cut the brush. Our new lowboy came in this week and, the salesman came down and gave a bunch of guys, training on that. I did get the year-end roads report submitted to the DOT. Where that, send in the resolutions for our vacations and all the construction projects that we did. So that they can update their system for our roads and shoulders and everything else. Spent a couple hours, the GPS for our vehicles on the phone with Verizon Connect, getting those, this winter's coming, so we have a few new units on the way.
It's one bill.
Yep. Yep. He said send the bill to you. No, I think that it's $25 a month or something like that. Corrections to final plans for next year's projects and permits. And then I did sit through a webinar provided by the DOT talking about how they're gonna, the I-80 closures and everything else. They did record it, so I will try to get that sent out to you guys as well when I can find a link.
So when I say close the roads, they close them, right?
They're closing 80, yeah.
So what do we do? I mean, if they're closed, our roads are public works.
No, if they're closed, we gotta make sure ours are open for people to get off the interstate and come.
But you know what I'm saying?
So, I mean, I'll send it to you guys, and I don't want to be wrong here on camera, but, it sounds to me like they're gonna close them more than what they originally, thought, or what they originally alluded to, if it's so many inches of snow coming or a quarter inch of rise for a blizzard.
So the off ramps stay open, the rest couldn't get off the interstate, the on ramps are closed.
Just the on-ramps, yeah.
So how do they do that? Then how do they get people, make them leave?
You don't, but you're on, you stay on.
That's
So I'm hoping, that our stretch, they are, well, two things is what it sounded like. When I heard about all this last year, my two recommendations were at least send out the hawk alerts, whatever the heck those are called, where you're in a geo fence, and give a heads up to it. The interstate will be closing. That way, if you work in Cedar Rapids, live in Lynchburg, and you know that they're gonna close it, because they're closing all the way from Altoona to 380 or somewhere in there.
That's the sections you're gonna do, the 90 smaller section?
Correct. So if that storm is in Altoona, it could be okay here that they would close down the interstate. And, if you were working somewhere over there and they're like, hey, we're gonna get it closed, I think a lot of bosses would be, okay, get home now. And so, at the time, they said, absolutely not, we're not gonna do that. Turns out, I think they're gonna do it. So they were gonna try to give a heads up. But when I find that, I will send it to you guys so that you can make your own judgments on that. And we'll have to get.
Is there a way for you, if you get, will they notify you?
Yeah, so they're supposed to notify me, and I gotta make sure, I gotta talk with Josh, that Josh Humphreys is on the list. And actually, what we'll maybe do is somehow set up the email that when those come to Josh, it gets forwarded to me, you guys, Sheriff's Department, whoever. So we gotta get that tree set up. But I don't know. I guess I didn't finish my thought. They're gonna close it from Altoona to 380. Well, if you're on, you can stay on. So I don't know if people are there. I don't foresee them getting off on our exits, unless it's like Williamsburg where they know they can get to the hotel.
Yeah, I wouldn't think you really would unless it's so bad that it's like,
I don't foresee them getting off. And you're not gonna be getting on there, so you are gonna be coming Highway 6 all the way from Tiffin, if you're in out of city or whatever, you have to bring Highway 6 down. I wouldn't go, in a blizzard, IWV, if they choose to do that, I'm gonna guess they're gonna go in a ditch before they even get to Iowa County. And Highway 6, it's still state road over to, I don't know how far they're gonna run that. If they would 151 in our IWV, which would be a terrible idea.
Well, like I said, just my thinking is if the interstate's closed, our roads are worse.
Yeah, it's probably not gonna be good. And they close them in the middle of the night too. They close it in the middle of the night, we're not gonna be awake.
It'll be a huge trial and everything, I think.
Yeah, but I think we're gonna be okay with the fact that we're in the middle.
See the temperature?
oh, it's nice.
75. It's 75 now?
75.
I thought I felt kind of warm.
It's nice. Yeah, I know.
Just saying, it's not comfortable, we know it's too warm.
And then the next week is Thanksgiving, and the week after is the engineers conference, so I'll be back on the 12th.
Okay, the 12th is when you're having your budget report over there.
Yeah, one, two.
I thought that was what you said.
We had, and I just turned it.
I know, you guys, we're gonna turn the corner and it's budget time.
On the book, your, meeting report. Make sure he's not down on the 5th. I don't know why, for some reason, I thought you were down already for something.
I mean, I can tell you, give you the budget report right now, we need more money.
He's just on it. He's not gonna be here.
He's not here either.
Um,
And we didn't say you're not getting it.
when you find the tree that it grows on, let me know.
There, problem solved.
Yeah. So our local construction projects will take a hit. And maybe rock. But
Okay, so since we're going to talk about the possible purchase of property, we're going to have to go into closed session for a few minutes. So,
Shut this.
Motion. I'll make a motion, we go into closed session.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Okay.
All right,
I'm gonna get off my phone and just go online here, okay, Chris?
Okay, John.
Hard to hear you guys on the phone, so maybe I can hear better online.
Okay,
I'll text you if I have any.
sounds good.
Yeah, you can go.
Let's open a window.
You done that?
Is that hot over there?
It's good, sir.
I don't, what was it set at over there? Do you know? Oh, Dylan's coming back up. It's not being easy.
I'm not sure what it was.
I should go over there and take my shirt. Come on, Dylan.
Okay, we are in closed session.
You got it back on?
Yeah, everything's back on.
Okay. I will make a motion to allow the engineer to make an offer on the parcel as discussed in the closed session.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion approved.
Is there anything that you guys would, you know, when I come in on the 12th and discuss budget stuff for projects, is there anything that you would like me to specifically touch upon?
I enjoy the bridge updates of which ones you did, which ones you're going to do.
Okay, okay.
If you're doing any different methods of doing things.
Sure.
I like, how we don't need as much money, you know. Less.
But, because I kind of bring the same thing back every year, you know, I touch base with how the little piggy banks work and how much property we have, and it's, you know, you guys have all been here for a few years, I don't wanna
Your future,
take too much time to beat a dead horse.
what's the future goals of which ones you'd like to do that?
But you can't take it to the landfill now. We found out today. Dead horse.
The dead horse.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep,
I never do that.
Yeah, we learned something.
it's gonna get more expensive here though.
Better get rid of it now.
What, is that when it's effective? Yeah.
Okay, well,
These guys didn't know you could take a animal to the landfill.
I had no idea.
yeah, you can, like,
Yeah,
dogs, cats, anything? Do they go in
Livestock.
That's what I asked.
I don't know about a dog or cat, but
livestock.
Why couldn't?
And they go in a special spot then, or just in the general?
I don't know that. I've
You know,
never
Adam?
See, you should ask a lot more questions.
If they put them in this separate spot or not.
I heard something about burying them, like they bury them, but
I'm sure they have to get buried.
Everything gets buried.
Turned into a compost.
I mean, it's no different than, I mean, you know,
Right.
garbage and stuff, so it's not, I mean.
I'm sure that your garbage just get mixed in with the regular garbage.
yeah, people are putting it in their dumpsters.
Okay, yeah, bridge
On that
updates,
note.
what we do there. I'll give you kind of a tip update. I mean, we got a few more projects, but then that's done.
Any new roads? No roads are going to resurface next year.
Yeah, we have the one more TIF project for them.
Stuff like that.
It's still climate. How's it
Okay, well, we'll kind of make it like normal then. If that- if you
Yeah.
guys are- Okay.
You've been up on the shorts here for a while.
Thanks, Dave.
Somebody hacked into the system.
I don't know.
Does over
Dylan's-
there control it?
Someone's
And downstairs, so Dylan's working on it, figuring it out.
Because every time we're over there, we always have an issue too. It's freezing and then all of a sudden it's.
It's fine over there.
For now. Have a good weekend, Nick.
You too.
One day I wear my coat.
A sauna.
Probably hotter here in Florida.
Yeah, probably.
John's on the phone.
Yeah, he's-
No, he's
Oh.
just listening now.
Yeah. Used to.
Probably because the nice football season's over.
What's that?
Probably nice football season's over.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, we want to, no, but.
I didn't mean it that way. I meant for ambulance business.
Well, you know, they kind of, when you get into the playoffs, then people want to sign up for those.
Well,
It's when we have 4 football games in one night that it gets messy. Trying to get in and all. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so my report for November, calls through October, we had For the month of October, we had 146 responses, 103 of those were transports or billable, 43 were refusals. For the fiscal year, we're sitting at 608 responses, with 428 of those being transports or billable calls and 180 being refusals. So we're averaging 152 responses per month, 107 transports per month, and 45 refusals per month. So we're still a little bit below last fiscal year. There were 28 times both ambulance trucks were busy at the same time. We were able to staff a third ambulance 6 of those 28 times, and we had to request the out-of-county unit 4 times through the month. Transfers for the month were at 22. Moving in finance, our October actual expenses $171,767 compared to a monthly budget of $209,107. So expenses were well within budget. The month year-to-date actual expenses $791,247 compared to a year-to-date budget of $836,428. Right now we're sitting $45,181 under budget, and there's some large expenses in there that we haven't bought. Right on track, I would say. October revenue, $152,428, so that was up a little bit. Year-to-date revenue, $406,395 compared to a year-to-date budget of $434,833. So revenue, we're still running under budget a little bit, $28,438. There was with the federal shutdown, there was a month where Medicare claims didn't get billed because part of the bill or whatever is the extra 2% for ambulance payment on Medicare, so they didn't want to bill those and kick them back after we do it. So those are all getting processed now. So hopefully next month we'll be getting closer to hitting our revenue marks. Year-to-date actual expenses minus year-to-date actual revenue, $384,852 compared to a difference in budget expenses minus budget revenue of $401,595. So our actual cost variance from a budget to our actual is actually positive $16,743. So that's good. Our average charge per transport, $1,525 compared to our average revenue of $776. Our average cost is running per response, $1,301 compared to actual transport of $1,848. Any questions on financial stuff? On the back, our satisfaction's been at 100%. I'll be sending out surveys here probably in another week or two. Should be seeing those when I send those out. So, regular stuff going on, our deposits, claims, scheduling, our medications, collections, records requests. Have our preparedness meetings on there. October training, we did multi-casualty event training. We did some online training, and we did participate in the active shooter training over at HLV. November training was ventilator management training. We got a lot of training going on. Ventilator management, we got those ventilators from the state. We had to send those in for preventive maintenance because they basically get to sit in a box, but the internal batteries and stuff aren't working. So those are all getting updates right now, and then we hope to have those back here by the end of they're in Washington. I don't know how long it takes updates, so hopefully we get them back in 2 or 3 weeks. And then our medical director came out. We had a staff meeting, and he did BiPAP, which is like ventilation training and stuff as well. Finished up the special events, football games, all that. Our Medicare, and Medicaid re-enrollment is being processed. That was all due, I think, here by the end of November. I attended the EMS director workshop, which is required every 3 years, and then attended the hazard mitigation planning meeting. Evan went with me to help do a career fair at the Williamsburg Rec Center, which included all the area schools. It was pretty nice. A lot of kids interested in different things, but it's kind of fun thing we've done the last couple of years. Had Radio Governance Board meeting. Had a meeting with Iowa Offset, who does our collections for us. That's the income offset. If somebody has income, if they owe us money and they have an income tax return from the state, or if they have any gambling winnings, then we can collect on that. So, but the Department of Revenue took it over from the Department of Administrative Services here the last year, so they having meetings with everybody.
Do we ever get some of these game playing meetings? Do we
Yeah,
know?
we do. I mean, it's not, well, but it might just be.
It's on the bear
It's
wings.
usually small amounts, but yeah. Then we're working on protocol updates. Lee's helping with that with the medical director. And then, cost advisory services is who we hire to help us with our ground emergency medical transport, or GEMT. We commonly call it cost report, and that has to be submitted to IME by the end of November, and we submitted it this week. And that is where we get the reimbursement based on costs for Medicaid claims and the Medicaid MCO companies. So it's the federal dollars that's thrown through the state for that program. So they brought in $175,000 last year. Vehicles, everything's normal, routine services. Got the Casey's cards canceled after the last meeting, got the wax fuel cards all in the trucks and they all work. Personnel, we had 2 new part-time personnel start yesterday. They're EMTs, they're actually both in paramedic class 2, so we're excited to get them going. Safety-wise, pretty normal, routine, a lot of drug screens going on. This is the way it is sometimes. Background checks and new employees has been kind of slowed down here. No injuries report. Our next meeting for safety is in January. Oh, I did get to see something, say something, posters out. I got some out to Nick, and I need to get them out to other places, but I get those distributed. If I don't get them distributed, I'll get them out at the next safety meeting. So work on that. Any questions?
I was gonna say, I'll jinx you right now, and since Becky's here, it'll be the same thing, deer season.
And as foggy as it was yesterday?
I know.
Yeah. Well, we lucked out yesterday morning, didn't have much. Yeah.
Usually one of the two of you guys get a deer.
Everybody grab a license and help us.
Must be the flashing lights and sirens that scare them off.
Yeah. Well, I was worried driving home from English from that rest of me.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
Just so you know.
I drove all the way from Green County.
All right, well, I'm gonna stick around for your rest of the stuff, if you don't mind.
Nope, that's fine. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Do you want to be on break now and just sit there, or you want to get out of the way?
Well, I'm gonna stick around for the radio thing too.
Come on up and get yours out.
Much. Just so everybody knows, I did put in there about the 2 insurance claims that we had this month. I talked to Kevin about them, and we're working through the process with Lillis. But no damage to the bus, just the other people. And that's it.
If you have the internet figured out, if we can movie to the other building.
We really can't go to the other building until they get the fiber optic hooked up over there.
Which is no idea.
Sometime before the end of the year, they were hoping.
Okay, that's my question.
And
Oh, go ahead.
they were down yesterday and the day before putting the new roofs on.
We had a Board of Health meeting and the iSmiles coordinator was there from Johnson County Public Health. She does all the Iowa County stuff. It's all the kiddos who are underinsured and getting dental treatment. And so we were talking about transportation being an issue. She was talking like for Iowa County. So I think Miranda's gonna give her your number, somehow connect you guys to be able to talk about those things.
For transportation for dental appointments? Or- Okay.
Yep.
And so, 'cause we work with the, whatever, Iowa Johnson Kia Cup for the early childhood development for preschoolers to get rides.
Yep, it'd be the same thing. She
Okay.
wasn't really aware about our public transportation, so.
Nice.
So, just heads up.
I'll wait for her to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, found out yesterday, the driver's seat in 311 is basically shot. That's that Chevy bus.
Problem child bus, isn't
The
it?
problem child, yes. So I talked to Midwest Upholstery in Williamsburg, and he has availability, says it's an easy fix. Didn't give me a dollar amount yet, but, looking to maybe do that in December when, on Christmas break. I got drivers complaining that their backs are getting
What's
hurt
that
because
bad,
of
huh?
this, yeah,
Okay,
so. I need to do something, and we're not gonna be getting rid of it in the next 6 months, so,
not the way they move around.
no, so. I don't think it'll be too much, but everything's expensive no matter what you do.
Okay, any questions for Becky?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Okay, drop down below, liquor licenses. Very nice.
Right, there, we're done, right?
No.
FY 25 cost allocation plan consideration. What we do over here,
I'll make a motion to approve it.
is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion approved. Finance operating consideration, general obligation bonds for radio system. Hold on to that. I don't know if we need to do anything at this moment with that, I believe, correct?
No.
That's more of a hold, we keep it on the agenda. And then we'll wait till after we have the next discussion, before we have the next discussion.
Sounds good.
So I believe we should probably go on recess for a little while in case the people are planning to be here at 10:15.
Yeah, I'll use.
Those are, but I think there are other people coming.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, we're on recess. Motorola is here to put on a presentation for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for allowing us the time to come in and speak with you guys today. I have a quick high-level agenda of kind of what we're going to go over. So I'll introduce myself and then our team here in a second, and then I'll kick it over to Haley to go through ISIX, an overview of how that is across the state. And I'll talk a little bit about Motorola here locally across the state of Iowa. We have a couple high-level coverage maps, and then what the path forward would be for Iowa County specifically. So as far as introduction go, my name is Frank Cueva. I'm the area sales manager for the state of Iowa. So oversee the entire Motorola portfolio, radio, body worn cameras, fixed cameras like you guys have up there in the corner. So the whole portfolio on my team.
I'm Haley Nichols. I'm the statewide interoperability coordinator. I work at the Department of Public Safety, but I also help coordinate the ISIX board. And I'm not an employee of Motorola.
Todd Ritchie, Senior Account Manager. I work for Fran. I cover particularly Iowa County and half of the state.
Jay Burl, I'm the Vice President of Sales for the 7 states of the Midwest. I'm actually out of just outside Joliet, Illinois, if there's any NASCAR fans, right by the Route 66 Speedway.
Scott Richardson, I'm an Assistant System Administrator for ISIX Radio System and actually work for Department of Public Safety for the state of Iowa.
So awesome. With that, I'll kick it over to Haley and have her walk through a couple slides here about ISIX.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Brent. So we did combine our slides, but like I said, the ISIX board and my job is not affiliated with Motorola. The system was built by Motorola, but I really thank you guys for inviting me here as well, because ISIX is way more than a radio system, and the board is really about the relationships and the governance of the system and this community that exists that allows anyone contemplating what you're contemplating to have a whole community that you can ask questions of. And later in the slide, you'll see that that community is large. And because I make my slides in PowerPoint and they're using Google Slides, I'm sorry that you can't see that a little bit better, but I will just read you. Today, I just want you to get a better understanding of ISIX, the platform and its governance, learn the benefits of ISIX for all agencies, no matter what level user, and identify some questions you may have for future meetings of other stakeholders besides myself or Motorola. So interoperability is in our name, and that means the ability of public safety and public service personnel to communicate and share data on an immediate basis when that need arises. And that's from a definition in Iowa Code. So that's what the term interoperability means. If there was a antonym for that, it would be operability maybe, or just your local operations, what you do every day, just maybe within one department, for instance. The background of all of this sort of came out of the incidents of 9/11. There was a report that came from that, and it was found that communications was one of the major failures. After, of course, the incident occurred, there were firefighters in the Twin Towers who didn't receive Mayday call, and police were evacuated, and the firefighters did not know that one of the towers had fallen and the next was going to do that. So that is because they were on 2 separate systems, and all of the people that rushed to that incident didn't have a shared system. But 5 years before that, September 11th, another public safety wireless advisory committee knew that there were problems with communications and that we needed interoperability. And in every incident, almost since then, communications comes up in the after actions report, including Kerr County, Texas, and in their reports to their legislators when they had to sit before their Senate and give their reports, they asked and have put legislation forward for a statewide radio system in Texas as well. Interoperability is important for public safety. Geez, I can't even read that. When life and property are endangered, citizens expect the government will respond. We know that. The effectiveness of that response is directly tied to communications capabilities. So this is stuff that comes out of after action reports, and I just copied this out of a couple of them, and the link is in the bottom of this slide. Radio communications cannot be understated in public safety environment, not only for disaster events, but any event where different entities come together for interoperability. Because of the special nature of the mission, there are unique needs. Public safety needs secure communications. They need redundant communications in case of failures. They need coverage through an entire jurisdiction because counties like yours is rural. The state of Iowa is the third most rural state, for instance, and that doesn't mean that emergencies don't happen in those rural areas, and we still need to communicate where those exist. And we need the teamwork of interoperability. So Iowa Now has responded to that by creating this statewide platform. It was built out originally with 90 original sites, which provided 95% or better mobile coverage. This map is available on our website as well, the one down in the bottom left. It includes all of the enhancement sites that have been added over the years. We are up to about 160 sites, I believe, with a couple waiting in the wings. So it's changing all the time depending on new counties building infrastructure. We have 48,000 plus users, over 208 agencies using the site. You are one of those 200 agencies. You're a level 1. Iowa County is a level 1 user for interoperability. All counties in Iowa are a level 1 user. That's necessary and important for just no matter what would happen. So we're thankful for that. Are there any questions about this map? There's a key that shows which sites are the original sites, which have come on later, and we can talk about it. You can see in the top right map that Iowa County does have a state-built site right there in the center of it. We were talking about it earlier. It's just there at Williamsburg. So, and those sites were built with taxpayer money here. And this map shows the adoption of ISIX. Adoption has been greater than was first expected. These are different level users. So I did say that you and other counties, all other counties are really all level 1. And there's some nuance to this because some agencies are ISIX adopters, but other in a specific county may or may not be. So not every agency has to come on at the same level. So there is some nuance across the state, but as you can see, there's a wide variety of ISIX users. And if there's any questions about that, the main purpose of this slide is to let you know if you have more questions about ISIX use, these are the people that you might reach out to and ask along with the ISIX board. And we'll get to more about that later. And if any time there's questions, just stop me. I'm sure that Fran and his group will talk more about this, but I brought Scott with me as well because he's the system admin and knows more about the technical stuff, but it's a 2-zone system, 3.0 geo-redundant cores connected through redundant microwaves. It is the most resilient system in the state. And that is just to let you know that if something goes wrong, we have built in that redundancy and the resiliency so that it will roll over. There is a backup and the system will stay up and continue to be available for communications for all public safety across the state.
So then you say that we have one tower in the county now?
Yes.
So if that tower went down, what would we come off of?
So from this map, you can see that your one tower has 3 links. If your entire site went down, from a huge disaster, there would be some issues. You'd have to talk to the technical people, but if any one of those links went down, you have 2 other routes for communication. You would have to have all 3 of those lines, those routes of communications.
Haley, I'll jump in. real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah.
If you were to lose that tower, existing coverage would be provided by the neighboring towers. There's 2 up to the right there, one in Lynn, one in Johnson, and then 2 to the south and the west. We've actually had a couple tornado hits directly on ISIC sites. The Greenfield tornado hit directly our site down there. That site stayed operational throughout, and we ended up replacing the tower because of some bent steel on there. But it worked from the day of the tornado until the replacement tower was constructed, so it stayed operational the whole time.
Did that answer completely your question?
Just added some more.
There will be a lot of questions. So, but there are, almost all towers in this system have at least 2 of those links. So if one communication link was severed or cut in some way, there is another route of communication. There are, I believe, 4 spurs, we call them, in the system that we have asked, and you'll see it in our legislative report, and our 2025 legislative report is coming out. We are asking to fix those by adding infrastructure because we would like to have spurs in the system. So these are the people that are on and part of ISIX. So, and Motorola can talk more about this because they are the ones who do the monitoring of the system. So the state built and bought the system, and then we have an agreement that Motorola will maintain the system and make sure that everything is always running and up to date. And so they're monitored all the time with proactive monitoring rather than reactive response and issues. Their local technicians are throughout the state and available with just an email or phone call. Our local technicians work regular daytime hours, and these guys are available as well with just a phone call. Battery backup equipment with 5 to 7 days of generator power at each site and redundant backhaul. The benefits of core connected consoles, which is this level 3, if you would choose to go that route, are directly integrated into the system. They have redundancy built in as well, and they have a lot of advantages. You can dispatch, override transmissions, or dispatch can override transmissions in an emergency if they would need to, meaning that if someone was taking up a channel and talking a long time, they could just cut them off and go over the radio and tell everybody about an emergency. They're able to patch and supergroup for efficient patching. Fallback, which I like to talk about a lot. If there was a need to evacuate their center, they can take a virtual console with them, plug it into another neighboring level 3 dispatch center or our mobile command bus disaster recovery vehicle that the state owns, and dispatch from there. I come from the dispatch community. I dispatched for 18 years, and the Marshalltown tornado caused a gas leak, and we had to evacuate our communication center. At the drop of a hat, 911 was ringing, and we just had to run out of the center and go, and we didn't have those capabilities. So it would have been very nice to grab a USB and go in, or have that somewhere. Aliasing means that when someone keys up, it shows who that person is based on what you've typed into the system to show the name of the user, the officer, whoever, so that dispatch knows a specific person or unit. And dispatch is alerted when you push your emergency button and does not rely on a voice channel. So quick equipment requirements for these systems Ours is a P25 Phase 2 TDMA trunked radio system. That means that it uses those set of standards and the equipment must follow those standards, but you can bring equipment from any vendor that happens to meet those requirements. I don't know what equipment you have, but if it's P25, it will work on this system. Your level 1, I don't exactly know if all of your radios work or it's just at your consulate in your dispatch center, but that's important. We recommend that your equipment is enabled with the encryption, multi-key encryption capabilities on the front end. If you don't enable that on the front end, the cost to enable it later is much more, it's my understanding. And then there are some new technologies coming out, like using LTE-enabled equipment that allows roaming onto cellular network that uses infrastructure in addition to that land mobile radio system that you saw on the map. That is a benefit for some rural areas that don't have coverage. There are some drawbacks to it that it doesn't have necessarily all the redundancy of the land mobile radio mission critical system that ISIX is.
Is that more for like if you were roaming where you got out of coverage and they can use the cell tower, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Or Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And then I don't know, I put this slide in, it's in my regular presentation that I give. Ours is a trunking system versus a conventional system. I believe you already are a trunking system, so probably there's no difference between a current system that you have and what you would be going to. I'm not sure that it's necessary. It's pretty technical, and these systems that we're using currently are very efficient, and since you're not moving from conventional, I'm not sure that it would be worth your time.
Yeah, it looks like it's
Okay, I'll just pass over it. This is our ISIX NOC, the Network Operations Center, where Scott and his team work. Often it happens to be in Johnston at the where the dispatch center is as well. This is where the system activity is monitored. They can get system alerts. Any user of ISIX can request reports on your equipment in real time or historical reports. You're welcome to visit and take a look at what that is and learn more about that. It's very helpful and beneficial if you would need it. There's no real monitoring besides for problems, but if you would have an issue, that team is there to help. Okay, so the important part about ISIX and why it's a little bit different than what you have now is because we have a board that is based out of Iowa Code 80.28 and 80.29. It oversees the policy, operation, and fiscal components of the system, along with the system is also managed by DPS and DOT. You'll read in the code, but the board is made up of both state and local users. It's now a 7-member board. They create and implement the standards for best practice. They have meetings monthly. They're open to the public. They're the second Thursday of each month. Input is welcome. Questions are welcome from anyone. And there's a lot of work done at the committee level. Each of the 7 committees, headed by a chair, has at least 1 monthly meeting. They have an online website that's hosted through the state of Iowa, and their information is available there. They put out that annual report that I gave you. That's the benefit. And I'm really glad that you reached out or someone put us in contact, because I don't think that it's well known that there is this large community of people that gather and share information all the time. This interoperability goes beyond just being able to talk in those bad days. We're sharing information and asking questions and new policy and finding best practice all the time. And so that's very beneficial. Here's just a picture of our website, what it looks like. Those on the left-hand side, it shows that front page and some of the widgets. On the right-hand side, I have a screenshot of the trainings that are created. So ISIX users can learn how to use the system. On ISIX, you have local control. You can always request additional talk groups or radio IDs. There are no fees for any of the state-provided services. So the ISIX system is built currently and provided that. What you saw on that map is available. The NOC and Scott and me and the ISIX board, there's no cost to any of that. The cost comes from whatever you add, your enhancements or building. Your talk groups are yours. You decide who has access, and you can share with other agencies that fit your needs. So like I said, Iowa County is already a level 1 user, and that's wonderful. And these are my last slides. These are some misconceptions that we've heard about the platform. It's controlled by the state. That is not correct. So we have the board that's made up of, currently it only has one state member, that's from the dispatch center, but the code is written that it wouldn't necessarily have to have any state people on it. Committees and the working groups are comprised of local users who make the policy and standards. There's a misconception that the state will charge user fees. There are no fees for any user level. Or the state would charge PSAPs to use the control stations, which were given out in a grant to make that level 1 use, and that's not true. We don't do that. The state will take away local frequencies. You could keep your local frequencies. I think that may be in question of like VHF frequencies that firefighters use or backup systems or something. So you can keep anything that you currently like. The trunked system is a pooled frequency system. So the frequencies that are on the ISIX system are pooled for all users. And then what you do outside of that is not business. I don't know if there's anything else. Yep, I think this is the last one. And the system was not built for the state. The state built those 90 sites at 95% or better mobile coverage across the state. That's how they chose where the sites went. If there were new sites built, they used some existing structures. It was built to provide a cost-effective baseline. It allows for local entities to integrate in a cost-effective manner. It provides for enhanced capabilities if integration is desired. The state does not control what is allowed on the system. Interoperability channels are defined for consistency. You have a map of those channels. That's what that colorful map is that I handed out. Those are set by the board. Sometimes we add to that, but it's a full ISIX board decision. And those are the channels, the talk groups that we want every person on the system to have. We write it in standard that you would put those in every radio on the system, but past that, what you put in your radios really is your choice and what you share with others. The state will listen to your talk groups or channels. We don't do that. We would have no reason to do that. There are some agreements across agencies where some people record for other agencies. I think that's just a cost sharing benefit that people have. I think that's what that last one means. Okay, that's it. Are there any questions that you might have for me about what I covered?
You said we were already a level 1 user. Who's using it?
So
In our county.
your comm center should have a consulate. When the system was first set up, there was a grant program that allowed for every PSAP or communication center to get a consulate that has that fleet of interoperability talk groups, at least for your region 6, so that when interoperability was needed, no matter what system you had, if there were something happened, they could patch in your system and the interop system and put the two systems together so that the radios would talk to each other. So if a trooper is working a fatality accident with your firefighters and your law enforcement, and one's on VHF, and one's on maybe the Sarah system, which is a different system, and one's on the ISIC system, which would be the troopers. They could all talk together on 3 separate systems.
Well, so I think the DOT and the state patrol are the users currently in Iowa County, right? On this?
No, we are too.
You are too? Okay.
You have it in your comm center, and you would use it for any interrupt event where you would have to work with other agencies or entities.
From public safety today, do you guys, does dispatch patch things together and make it happen, or do you ever actually change the channel and talk on a mutual aid?
We have change it if we want to, but it's quicker for
Dispatch to patch the two together.
And you guys can ask questions too if you have any.
There may be a desire to know the difference between operability and interoperability. Operability is where you do your day-to-day work on your local system. Interop is where you would attach to the Iowa ISIC system to interop with other agencies.
So at least me, there was a lot of concern that we wouldn't be able to talk to the neighboring counties that are on the Sarah system. It was presented multiple times to us via email or, different things. So would we be able to communicate, like when we had C60, that was one example that was brought up. We had an explosion here in Marengo, and it was crazy, and it ended up being, I think, Lynn County that wasn't their communication line that we were using to run all the operations down there.
What's that?
Didn't we run C60? Didn't we run through Lynn counties?
Everything was around here.
But I
But
thought,
the core is in Lynn County.
yeah, okay. I thought there was.
Our core connection is in Lynn County right now.
But would we be able to, if we have an event, talk to the neighboring counties, whether they're on Raycom or ISIX?
A lot of that can be handled with those interop talk groups on that sheet, the colored, yes. So your local stuff can be patched into those interop talk groups. And the end users can either choose to go directly in their radio to those interop talk groups or stay on their local talk groups that are patched in. Yes.
So that's the purpose that everyone across the state is level 1 use, because for any incident like you're speaking of, that's an interop event, and that's when the ISIC system is for everyone. No matter what system you purchase, you would use ISIX anyway. Okay. Always for any interop event. That's really the best practice, because everyone in the whole state should have it and has access to it for free.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the purpose of the grant, and that was the purpose of the consulates going in the dispatch centers. They can make that patch.
I think one of the things to remember here is everything is possible, right? But it has to be planned out that way and paid for, right? So we pay right now for a whole bunch of ISIX channels in our system to be native to our system. We can also manually switch to ISIX on our radios. We don't have the coverage currently, but we can do that. We have all that programmed as a redundant system, okay? But if you want to do the interoperability with all these other counties, we have to now figure out a way to put all those their channels into this patching system. Versus now we have like 12 channels that are the interop channels in the system, and other counties around us are doing the same thing, where they have the ISIX channels in their stuff where we can draw off of them to have access to the, I don't even know how many are there daily, like 200 interop channels. I don't even know, like our calls, our tax, all those different.
Yeah, they're on this list right here. I can give you a map here. Yeah.
I don't need to see like so
There's
we have access
9
to.
for each region, and you guys are region 6, and you would want every radio to have the whole lineup, and you would want your dispatch center to have any region that you touch, so 5 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that they could talk across the board.
Wasn't there talk, I think this is a question for the people behind you, talk about equipment needs and space requirements?
Yeah, so if we don't do a core connected console, then we have to have radios assigned to each talk group. But core connected consoles, you don't have to have that. So it depends on what you buy and what process, which is why the recommendation for hiring a consultant has come up, because if we're gonna switch to systems, we need to probably have a real technical spec for everyone to bid off of.
I think we'll address some of those, but I mean, as we go through the presentation, so,
Appreciate it.
yeah, for sure.
So that leads to, thanks Haley. So that leads to kind of why we're here today, right? You guys are in the early stages of planning for what your radio system is today and what you guys want it to be for the long term, right? So we want to work with you guys, all your public safety within the county, to make sure that we're tailoring the best solution for Iowa County, both from a technical and financial perspective. That way you guys have a predictable or long-term roadmap for what your system is and its longevity. Just a quick highlight on the experience that Motorola brings to the table. We've been around for almost 100 years coming up now. We are the manufacturer of all of our radios and all of our equipment that goes into a lot of these shelters. Currently, there's 41 statewide systems across the United States. 36 of those are the Motorola did build the backbone of those statewide systems, Iowa being one of them, and a lot of the surrounding states as well. Specifically in Iowa, we do have, I switched these slides on. We do have currently about 46 badged Motorola employees, and those all range from service, sales, support, project managers. We do have technical support staff. Actually, one lives in Marion as well. So we have a wide variety of different employees that are Motorola badged employees, and then we also have 4 different certified Motorola shops that are placed around the state, and they have different locations and branches that are able to service all of our technologies as well.
And that's just like if we had Motorola radios, right?
Correct. Or
Yes.
Motorola equipment of some
Yes,
sort.
yes, yep.
Yep.
Not like if we had different radios on your system.
Correct. We would still offer if you got like the infrastructure piece, we would have the technical resources available and stuff like that for you guys.
So like, if we had a
tower-
Harris radio, could we bring it to one of these locations?
They're not certified.
Okay.
Yeah, they're certified for Motorola.
That's
Yeah.
my question.
Over on the right-hand side, you see a lot more of support staff over there. Our headquarters is out of Chicago, so we have our corporate office in downtown Chicago, and then we have a couple offices out in Elgin and Schaumburg, and that's where a lot of staging happens. So we stage equipment, and then we ship it out to customers before it goes live out in the field. We already talked a little bit about we are the backbone infrastructure for the state of Iowa system. As Haley mentioned, there's over 47,000 radios currently on the ISIC system, 46 badged employees, and then the 4 service shops that we have across the state as well. This is a high-level overview of what our current radio portfolio is. So it's broken up into 3 different sections there. The top sections are standard or legacy line. The middle sections are N series, which is, as Haley kind of talked about a little bit, some of those radios that have the capability to move over to LTE. And then the last section there is going to be our mobiles, so the radios that go inside of your vehicles. I wanted to highlight specifically on that first standard line. So there's different tiers and levels that go through each of them. The Apex 900, which I think is similar to kind of what you guys are utilizing today in the fire environment. It is our entry-level radio, but it's still built to the ruggedness as the rest of our radios, right? It's still an Apex radio. This is an example from last year from up in Cherokee County. There was a brush fire out in the field. It was ran over by one of the fire engines, picked it up, dusted it off, and it was still working perfectly fine. And that radio actually is still on service today. So just an example of some of the ruggedness, even with our entry-level tier radios. Going back to that second level, so the N series radios, this is our newest line of radios. The Apex Next and the Apex N70 have the capability to have an LTE SIM card in there. So if you do go out of LMR coverage where you don't have RF coverage, a lot of the times, whether it's in a school, a hospital type of scenario where you coverage doesn't penetrate walls, you're able to switch over to an LTE type of service. The N50 and the N30 have the capability to do that with Wi-Fi, as well as the next N70 do as well.
I'll just add with the middle line, we call them our smart radios, some of the other advanced features. So whether programming instead of going and strapping a cable to every single radio or using over the air, you can use LTE. So off the radio system, you're pushing out your updates, firmware updates today. You know, you'll wake up, your cell phone was updated overnight. This is something very similar. It always gives public safety the chance. So it'll say, you want to take your radio update an hour later. So if you're in the middle of an incident, obviously you're not going to take a radio update. So this is one of the biggest concerns we've heard over the years is programming is a nightmare. Just because you got to get everybody together. You know, fire works different shifts, law enforcement works different shifts. So there's never a good time to bring everybody in at the same time. This is a way where somebody, administrator, could be a Motorola service shop, it could be a Motorola field tech, it could be somebody from Iowa County that's responsible that can go ahead and push all the updates out. So that's one of the benefits. That it's very easy over LTE, and then it also could be done over Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi could be a little more tricky because now you have to work with the different city, county, IT, firewalls. It adds some complexity. But that's another one of the benefits, including mapping, so you can see a live map of where my resources at, if they're an emergency, kicks up the cadence. All of that we wanted to take off the radio system because it's a lot for, the radio system has a very small data throughput. If you think back to like AOL days, even slower than that. LTE gives us some additional capabilities that enhance the radio system for public safety users.
Is that how our radios are updated right now?
Yeah, over the air programming now, yep. We don't have LTE, that's an additional option, which I think it probably is for Motorola radio as well. I believe that the radios, in our case, at least the radios require a cell plan for that radio then. I don't know as far as Motorola, if that requires that.
Yeah, we would insert, the way we do it is you choose whether it's Verizon or AT&T FirstNet. And then from there, we charge for the service of whether you want smart programming, smart messaging, smart connect. We have smart video now with our body cameras, so you can add on different options. We then carry the cell plan. So we negotiated nationwide contracts with Verizon and AT&T. That way you don't have to manage another cell plan. So there is a charge.
But we pay.
Yeah.
And that's all stuff that is an add-on feature that we, currently what you have isn't what we put in there. There's more cost, more functionality that we didn't price.
And programming, do you do all the programming today?
Now we get programming as part of their contract, yeah, now. Over there, programming, over there, encryption, OTAR, all that's there today.
Just again, talking about the LTE portion of this, it's to augment your P25 coverage. It's not meant to replace it, right? It's just to fill in those gaps and voids where coverage isn't possible, specifically in building for schools, hospitals, etc., or even outdoors in some of those more remote or rural areas where there's no LMR coverage, if those cases were to apply here. I do have a couple coverage maps, so I wanted to kind of run through what the differences are. You'll see a few different colors splattered on the map here. Mobile coverage I left off, as Haley and Scott kind of alluded to earlier. There's 95% mobile coverage across the state today. I focused more on the portable on-street, which is when you're using your radio in a normal scenario outside, portable in-building, which is going to be more of your residential, light retail type of scenarios, and then portable in-building in larger environments like a school, hospital, or those downtown older infrastructure type of scenarios. So you'll see different losses throughout on the coverage maps. The first map here is the existing coverage today, and I apologize, the colors aren't the easiest to see, especially for you, Kevin, over there. I'm sorry.
Can we turn off the front light? I don't know. There we go. Nope. So, I guess that one will be fine.
So
sleeping.
Yeah. So I have all of your existing sites mapped on here. They have an X, that means that it's turned off. So the only site that's turned on right now is going to be the Iowa County site, the one that's in Williamsburg, just north there of the I-80. And the different colors represent the green, which is what you're going to see most of, is going to be your on-street portable coverage. The purple bluish color is going to be once you get into that 6 dB loss or your residential light retail type of scenarios. And then the orange is going to be that 12 dB loss or that heavier building infrastructure, schools type of scenario. So this is ISIX coverage today, not including any of your guys' sites. This next one is using, I believe, Marengo and Williamsburg are two county-owned sites that you guys have already invested in. So this is using the Marengo, Williamsburg, and then the ISIX site in Williamsburg as well. The colors are the same, so green is going to be portable on street, that purple blue is going to be that 6 dB loss, and then the orange is going to be your 12 dB loss. And this is zoomed in a little bit more to cover, to show the county specifically. The next one is going to be your 4 sites, removing the Williamsburg site here in the middle, so using the Iowa County ISIX site instead of the Williamsburg site. So this is a 5-site map, and then again, similar with the colors, green, purple, and orange there to distinguish the 3 different losses. And then the last one is the same as this last map, but I just extended it out a little bit, and we included some of the surrounding ISIX sites that would help fill in some of the gaps, specifically down in the southwest region and up in that northwest corner, where like the Amana Colonies region is specifically. So when we work on designing a radio system, we really go over 5 C's, right? We go coverage, capacity, cost, control, and then the capabilities of the system. So I touched a little bit on the coverage side, and then I'll let Jay take over here and talk about the other C's that we look into when we're just designing a radio system.
Yeah, I'll jump right in. And again, please feel free to ask any questions. The goal here was to educate. That's essentially where we're at. Again, my role, I'm Territory Vice President for 7 states in the Midwest. I have 7 statewide systems. I also have regional systems that we have similar to what you're on. I have city-owned systems. I have multiple different systems. One of the things that we do is when there is a statewide, there's a lot of benefits and advantages for joining the statewide. The cost, it sounds like you share it for, I don't know if there's cost, it sounds like there might not be, or there is. With the state covering core costs, that's always great. When the state covers the backhaul, the microwave, the things that could break, that cost additional things, that's excellent. So when you look at the statewide, you see a large adoption. When this system started, there was 90 sites. In 5 years, there's been 70 added. So if you think about how quickly people realize the benefits, my full experience, I did something similar in Indiana for about 10 years. And the system started similar, it was 95% portable coverage. They built out, I think, 140 sites. We're right around 200 at this point. So you see, as the systems go, people leave VHF systems, people leave competitive systems, people leave Motorola standalone systems to join statewide systems because they're sick of the costs. And let's face it, there's body camera costs, there's in-car camera costs, there's drones and first responder costs. There's a lot of other costs coming and hitting the counties where people are looking to consolidate and say, where can I save money? So those are a lot of the different things we look at. When you look at capacity, you have a certain amount of capacity. That means we call it graded service analysis. How often is somebody keying up a radio? The goal is you're going to have a talk group that you're able to talk on. That's the last thing you want to do. So now all of a sudden we add DOT, we add DPS, we have patrol that they get put onto the system. We need to make sure we have enough capacity to make sure all of your local talk groups work while the states work. So that's something we do. Cost, we look at. Cost comes down to where we're at. So you have existing sites. Obviously the goal is to reuse the existing sites. And I'll get on to the next one, some of the things that go on there. Control, I think we already hit on that, and capabilities. I'm never going to be able to go over Motorola capabilities in a 30-minute presentation. So that's something we would love to come back out and present to really hit on a lot of the things that are coming, because everybody that I've worked with and I've put in many systems over the years, you're looking at this as your next 15 to 20 years, right? What's this going to look like? You'll probably be passing your radio off to somebody else if anybody's in the spot of retiring. We'll have vehicles taken out of service, but the mobile radio will go from one vehicle to the next vehicle, because that's how radio equipment is built. So if you're thinking about, like I said, it went from 90 to 100, 60 sites, you know, what does the next 10 years look like in Iowa with the ISIC systems and the capabilities that are there? And the amount, you know, that we're investing as far as personnel and people, whether it's sales, whether it's training, whether it's project managers, whether it's technicians, being invested in the area. But the next. So, you know, what are the things we have to do? So sit down with all public safety users. I'm not going to come up here and tell you what you need, right? I need you to tell me what you would like in a system. And then from there, we design it. So we bring the civil design team into the county. I'd have to see the towers. I'd have to understand what's going on at the towers, when were they built, how's the grounding. We do something called R56 grounding, right? So if there's a lightning strike, not only is the equipment protected, but the personnel that could be working on it's protected. We have to understand the loading. You know, when was the tower built? Can it take a certain size microwave dish? Can it take a certain size antenna? Your antennas and lines will most likely need to be replaced, right? Because there's age on them, and I'm going to design a system that works off of our antennas, not what was working 12, 13 years ago. That's a big difference. Paging plus 7800 sounds like you have a paging system that works today. UHF system, that's completely separate from a 7800 system. So you see a lot of either VHF paging, UHF paging, or you have, there's Unications, a third-party company that sells 7800 pagers that work. UHF and VHF to me are a better option if you already have the system working and operable. And then where can new technology fill a gap? So we talked about Smart Connect. We just relaunched a whole new set of equipment. So some of the things we're going to talk about is, you know, it's latest and greatest across the board. N+1 technology gives you the option to add channels. So if you lost a channel, we could have a spare card that's there that automatically picks up and assigns a frequency without anything going on site. The size, the footprint of our system has gotten a lot smaller based on technology that we're using. And we already talked a little bit about geo redundancy. You know, no matter what, the center site off the state has three different connections that can get back into a core. So one connection goes, it goes the other, another connection goes the other, the whole thing goes down. You know, if you're working off the prime, you're sitting on an island, right? But it'd be a 3-site, 4-site, 5-site, 6-site island, whatever you design. And then we have further levels of redundancy from there. Look at Smart Connect as a 200 channel site in the sky. So that's also another fallback plan. You have something that's massive that the state has invested in that, you know, costs additional dollars to utilize the service, but the hardware, the equipment, and the long-term upkeep is the responsibility of ISICs. When we go to, so I talked about, you know, microwave backhaul, GPS system. So tower loading is very important. HVAC generator, UPS, spacing in the shelters. In order to do any, whether it's an upgrade or to put a new system in, generally speaking, what we do is we loose rack a set of equipment, which I'll show you on the next page what that looks like, right next to your existing equipment. You're gonna have to run the antenna lines up, generally drop an antenna, move some things around. That way we can do a clean cutover, because you're not gonna sit there and take the entire system down, wait 3-4 weeks and then turn it back up. That's not acceptable. That's not what we do. We update entire statewide networks. This is what our project managers specialize in, our system technologists across the board. Capacity I already hit on. Coverage cannot go backwards. So that, I mean, that's one thing is we have to establish as far as the buildings go, you know, basement coverage. Do you have BDAs in the county? You know, BDA is just an extra antenna pointed out the side of the building, and it's picking up your frequencies. So BDAs for the most part stay the same if they're there, but you definitely want to keep upkeep on BDAs. I always remind people that because they can also be a thorn in the side of a network. 911 dispatch, another one, user experience. So you have wireline versus wireless. It was already brought up. I believe you have Symphony consoles today. So if you kept your existing consoles, the way it would work is you'd have racks, probably 12, 14 different consolettes. So big old mobile radios that are plugged into the wall and plugged into the system that would generate all of the conversations. Not as efficient as what you are today, not as efficient of what, you know, our console would be, which is what's called the Access console that's recently come out. So that's something that would definitely be a question mark, because everything is run out of 911. It's got to be, that can't go backwards either. User equipment, our goal is to explain why we believe Motorola is the best radio manufacturer and all of the lines that we sell are the best. However, a P25 Phase 2 TDMA radio can be programmed on the ISIC system today and be able to be programmed on your system. Our job is to say why we think ours are better with some of the additions. But if somebody decided, hey, I want to keep my, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, your mobiles are recently invested in, some mobiles, everything's on. So, we come out, we do a radio show you what we have. Again, we have options ranging from, the lower end all the way to the highest possible end that's used by, Customs and Border Patrol, used by the FBI, used by, any large agency for the most part. Go ahead and skip to the next one. I just wanted to show this because I started my career in Schaumburg, so I was actually on the other line. So if somebody's system went down in the middle of the night, my job was to wake up the technician that was local to the area, tell them, cancel your dinner with your wife. You got to go fix the system. That's where I learned a lot about Motorola in my 15-year career, all the different things that can go on. This right here, let's see if this is working. I can't see, but on the left-hand side is our Elgin facility. So that's our manufacturing assembly. So if we were able to be awarded a system through you, or any of the systems that are being on right now, it's the end of the year, there's a million systems going through this. We completely build your system in Elgin. We cable everything based on the cable length that's going to be needed in your shelters. We have the antenna line set aside. We have your system fully working, connected back to the ISIC core. So it's the only time I always say that you'll ever see your system all in one place, right? Because the next thing that's going to happen is you see the wood on the bottom. We crate all of these, we ship them out to the facilities, and the bottom right, I know it kind of blends, but the bottom right is just it looks like a probably 12-channel system that's installed. You have the UPS batteries there, you have a lot going on. That's installed in each individual shelter. So this is where we stage everything, we make sure everything's working. A lot of times, for you, it would be a new county coming on. I would say send 911, send anybody that's gonna be taking care of the system, or if it's us, if you just wanna see it, you can come out and inspect it. But then if we ship it out, we take care of everything. I just showed a picture of tower shelter. You guys understand what those are, but channels, routers, switches, microwave, consolettes, power, UPS, virtual prime, all of this is very important. I know you mentioned a consultant. There's a lot that goes into a radio system across the board. We do this is our, we're direct manufacturers, right? So I work for Motorola Solutions. We build all the equipment. We have a systems integration test lab, SIT lab. Anything we put out, so anything we partner with a third party, whether it's HP for servers, whether it's Nokia, whether it's Aviat for microwave, they have to meet our specs in order for it to be there. Because guess what? If they change something and it affects an entire statewide network, that's not good. So we need to pre-test everything before it goes out. We have a separate staging area for Department of Defense. So anything we do for the military, you have to have a different clearance to go through, just like the Network Operations Center, and you have to go through a crazy screening in order to be able to view any of those systems. So that's just kind of in a nutshell, like what goes on into, again, a 1-hour presentation can't explain what this is, but we just wanted to come out here and say, this is, what we're willing to do is come out, invest the time. There's no cost for us to invest time and send people out, understand what your setup is, sit with all of you, understand public safety, what you're looking for, and come up with something that we would think is, better than what your future could be with the new system today. That's just my personal opinion, our personal opinion. But that's what we'd be looking for is the option to at least come out and do a full needs analysis. First, just come up and say, oh, it's going to cost X dollars, because I have no idea what it would cost because I haven't met with any of you. This is my first time. So, I don't think I had. Oh yeah, future. So if you did go, so I just put 2027 and beyond. This is then to 25 by the time anything looked at. This is probably a 16 to 18 month project if we're not building any towers or building any shelters. We could always speed things up, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. That's what we talk about. The top part, what does Motorola do for the system? IRAR, that's infrastructure repair, advanced replacement. Something goes wrong, we either fix it, if it's something that needs to be fixed, or if we do this advanced exchange overnight, we ship it out. Tech support, you call in, a technician on site struggling, one of ours, they need additional support. We have an entire set of people that sit in those same buildings I showed you that can go and play around with equipment right there. You know, I just drove in this morning from the Chicago area, 3.5 hours. So that's how far some of the best technicians in the world on these systems are sitting. We have network monitoring. We watch the system 24/7, 365. They don't take days off. You know, we have night shifts, we have day shifts. Night shift is rough. I've done that before. MDR is managed detect respond. That's cybersecurity. That's obviously very big. These are networks, right? These are not just RF control stations. Highly networked, need to be protected. We do preventative maintenance, so we'll go out on the sites. Think about it. You have a computer running in a shelter, whether it's -20 degrees or 100 degrees out, 24/7, 365, and your goal is for that piece of equipment to last 15 to 20 years. So you better believe preventative maintenance need to be there. If a cooling fan goes out, guess what? That needs to be replaced instantly. We put switches and monitors on everything to ensure if we see something slowing down, the RPMs are going slower, we're going to send a tech out to replace a $12 fan before, you know, it takes down an entire piece of equipment and wreaks havoc on a weekend for public safety or a weekday. And site dispatch, obviously, if anything goes wrong, we set up different times where we have to respond, right? If we can't fix it remotely, we show up on site. We have spare parts. We have trucks filled with lots and lots of equipment in order to fix it. Hit on Schaumburg. I just want to hit on this piece. So what we're selling now, the DVR M12s, that's recently been released. That's our new D series. That is the repeaters. So those are basically a vintage of 2024. They're about, 12 months old. If you look at the GTR, some of the things that have been out there for a while, that started in 2005. So it kind of gives you an idea. That's 19 years in between from equipment standpoint. Our N-line radios, for the most part, everything on the N-line has been 2023 to 2025. Legacy radios are anywhere from 2017 to 2020 is when those have been released. Access consoles, new vintage 2022. Portables and mobiles, I always recommend. We have a 7-year warranty from a manufacturer perspective we can provide. Access consoles would be if you went core connected, which I would recommend. And then we do obviously have an expanded portfolio, whether you're calling 911, whether you're dispatching over CAD, dispatching over the dispatch consoles, body-worn cameras, drone. We've invested very heavily in the public safety space, and that's really what we're doing is trying to integrate. I mean, we took the engineers that designed the Vigilon cameras and able to recognize, we put that in the backseat camera of our in-car camera. We took, we keep mixing our technology. We're the best engineers is the way I look at it. So we're saying, hey, you're really good at this. Come help me over here because we're struggling in this piece. So that's what we do a lot of. From the county's perspective, I don't know exactly how your maintenance contracts would be set up today, but tower upkeep. We're not cutting the grass. We're not putting, seed down the block from weeds going through. Generators, we can help and get a generator repair set up, but the goal is you're responsible for the tower upkeep, the shelter upkeep, the grounds upkeep, if anything's wrong there. County can program the radios. We can sell a service. We can have a local shop do it. So, that's probably similar to today. For the radios itself, I mean, for the most part, batteries, antennas, ancillary piece parts, it's a responsibility of public safety. There's always packages you can buy that have some of that built in. Let's see, purchase Motorola or other P25 vendors. Your radio works on ISIX. We have, Sarah customers using Motorola radios today. So that was the whole point of P25 is to be interoperable. Some of the, what our competitors sell, some of their extras don't always work on our system, and some of the things that we sell don't work on theirs. But there's a set standard that absolutely must work for public safety. That's where we talk about the Symphony consoles, where they're at. Let's see, I think that me talking a little bit there at the end just to kind of explain, it is a complex system. We've done lots and lots of these across the board. Get a quick lights.
Time to wake up.
Just to be clear, that maintenance program that you just presented is not free, it costs money, right?
Correct, so the state, pays for everything that exists today that they put in. If you want to add sites, which absolutely you would then have a maintenance program with us that would take care of, all of the equipment that sits inside those shelters across the board.
Great, thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Questions? The coverage map, can you go back to that?
Yeah. Which one specifically?
Well, it doesn't matter, any of them. What? There's no coverage there?
So that doesn't mean, so what we show on these coverage maps is we're able to show 95% coverage. So in those painted spots, if you're keying up 100 times, 95 out of 100, it's gonna key up. If it's not shaded, it doesn't mean it's 0. It could be 85, it could be 65, it just doesn't meet the threshold of 95% in those specific areas. So it doesn't mean 0 coverage, it just means it doesn't meet the 95% threshold for being on the map specifically, that we can show.
Yeah, can you go to the one that had using all of our tower sites?
Yeah. This one?
Yeah.
This one, it doesn't have the Williamsburg one, it has the Essex, Iowa County site. So we turned off your Williamsburg one, and it has your 4. So Homestead, Marengo, Victor, and Millersburg.
I assume you're thinking that's because we wouldn't need to use the Williamsburg
Because of the
tower?
proximity of them.
Yeah,
So the Williamsburg one is the Essex one that's free though? Or
There's-
We would be able to leverage the Iowa County, so the one where it says Iowa right here, that's the Essex site, and then your guys' Williamsburg
Oh,
site
I
is
got it,
currently right
okay.
here. This one has the X through it because it's not showing any coverage off of that specific tower.
Yeah, from a responsibility perspective, if we design something like this, and again, these were just, we put maps together, we assumed a lower height because we didn't know all the heights that were available, so this is a very conservative map. But if the state's already paying for a site right next to another site, the goal would let the state continue to pay for that site, and then you would add your 4 additional sites that you would be responsible for in this design.
And keep in mind, this is for portable coverage. Your mobile in-car radio should work fine throughout the county today.
From an ambulance perspective of it, we go to Johnston, Lynn County, and up to Waterloo and Blackhawk County. What is the coverage looking like for that?
So this shows the surrounding counties and their Essex coverage, how it is today. So this is using, there's the Johnson site, and then the Cedar Rapids site up here on the northern part.
And this is today's coverage, so if any of the, again, none of them might do it, but if anybody does decide to join Essex in the future, you would obviously gain benefit from any coverage they did. So that's why I always look at it, the next 10 to 15 year, we already added 70 sites. What does the future hold? That's the unknown. It could be 0.
You say you can't predict the future,
Oh,
you can't
correct.
count on that.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah,
say,
but we do have sites that exist today.
when you say added, is that other counties investing in towers, not the state?
Correct. Yeah, I believe the tower, for the most part, the sites will come microwave out of it.
Yeah, there's been plenty of locals that have added
That's
coverage.
locals that have invested to add those.
Correct.
Correct.
The state has not added any towers since the initial build out, and we ask in our annual report every year, but so far they haven't added it, like those spurs that I talked about, that we'd like to shore up. So they haven't invested any more money into building infrastructure.
Neely, is it still the case that, as an operational user, you still have a geofence, you get one statewide talk group, or what level do you have to be to get past that?
You automatically can have one statewide talk group if you're a level 2 user, and you guys certainly should apply to be level 2 anyway. But if you would have a use case, like your ambulance might need a statewide separately or something, for sure, you can.
Yeah, it's not hard and fast rule.
No.
It's adjustable.
It's just this board makes that decision.
You-
It's not seven.
A lot of times it's a user group committee.
It just has to be, we don't want every talk group to be statewide. There has to be a reason why. And if you could make your case for a reason, you could have your statewide talk. But most of them are geo-fenced purposely,
And not just to your sites, and we get the neighboring sites as well for coverage.
one ring out.
I do encourage after this as well, this is on the ISIX website, I know it's a little bit hard to see, but it does show the original build outs, which are the little blue dots, and then the local additions that counties like yourselves have brought on to the ISIX system. And it has a little key down there at the bottom that shows what infrastructure counties have brought, whether it's one site, 4 sites, 5 sites, different sizes, and every county is a little bit different with their topography and what kind of coverage they're wanting to get out of their radio system.
Coverage is number one on a radio system. That's, nothing else matters. You can have the fanciest radios in the world, but if you don't have coverage, it means nothing. So we take the coverage design, we need input on where everything is. Or we also look at too, in the next 5 years, is there any developments that might go in, right? You see areas, I know you're working with certain areas where they have an entire, 200 homes all of a sudden pop up. Guess what? That's strip malls, that's other areas. If that was a portable only on street area down the road, you might have to add a tower site, right? If that's how it's set up. Or you have an area that's going to be farmland for the next 50 years, nobody's selling anything. Well, guess what? Portable on street, we're good there. So that's knowledge we do not have for the county that would need to be provided if we had the opportunity.
I know, but looking at the coverage map, it seems like we were really, really low on southeast Iowa County on about every map, right? If I remember right. That one in Keokuk doesn't help us,
Yeah, I think the southern part of it kind of gets a little.
especially at southeast. So,
Do we have a coverage map that we have right now?
I see on that map, we have another city's farther,
I didn't see it in
Millersburg,
that
that one's
presentation.
further south, yeah.
Yeah, and the goal would be to understand all of the assets in the county and then design a system based on that. This was just a starting point off of similar to what you have today.
Yeah, and we did make some assumptions on heights and different things like that, so they're fairly conservative as well.
Because we can change antennas, the panels around, and how we're gonna do it. We can point them down in certain areas. I have sites that are at university campuses and their only goal is to cover every single building inside of a university. So then they point them down versus the one here today is more for spray coverage as far as possible. That we have more portable coverage. So there's always adjustments made. Something like this would most likely be a simulcast cell versus a multicast, and based on the size of the county, the amount of frequencies needed to do a multicast, you probably would not get approved by the FCC. So at that point, you would have to have a simulcast cell similar to what you have today, because it's the most efficient way to manage frequencies assigned by the government.
All of which was caused by the government.
Yes.
All of this.
Any other questions that we can answer, or?
We could just, some clarification, you mentioned that it would be a 16 to 18 month build out if we had a design ready to go and we started today. Is that accurate?
That's an assumption. The way I look at it, I mean, by the time we, invested time with all of you to understand what you would need, by the time something would actually be brought up to contract and signed, I mean, that cuts in quite a bit of time. Can we bring equipment out here pretty darn quick and get everything assembled? I mean, we could do anything. And there's natural disasters. We're out the next day with entire semis changing stuff. In Florida, we do that quite often, actually. So yeah, we could always speed a project. I just use the standard project, but we're not. It's just, I would assign more PMs. So if a PM has a certain allotted amount of time to do it, and I assign 2, well, guess what? They just got to cut that in half. So, I mean, anytime there's a tornado goes through or a hurricane goes through, we prioritize. We set up an entire NOC at our Schaumburg location we call it public safety emergency. This, I wouldn't call this emergency. We need, if there's timelines on contracts, that's a different story. We can always speed things up. And we have there's 24,000 people that work at Motorola. We can kick it into overdrive.
So, and I apologize for you not knowing that just based on your comment. I'm guessing you didn't. you mentioned that we're in the early stages of looking into this. And what the truth is, we have 10 months left. This has been a 10-year maintenance program with the understanding that we would either have to replace it or refresh it in year 10, which is coming up in 10 months. So knowing that, at this point, we've had Raycom come in here and give a refresh presentation. And I think what we're talking about here, correct me if I'm wrong, is a build-out presentation.
It would be, so my assumption is they're gonna have to replace the backhaul equipment, so microwave, the repeaters, your radios, and they don't have to replace the console. So it's basically, we'd be proposing the same thing, except for the consoles. We would probably wanna say you should replace those. I don't know how old they are, but that would be something we would look at.
And in the paging side, are you voice paging? Is that, or what types of paging? Options are there?
Yeah, we could do, so is paging part of what you're getting replaced?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we can design a paging system, but.
Pagers aren't.
Well, they're not at end of life, but assuming that you aren't going to be able to deal with the Swisscom paging system, then I think we're looking at a new paging system.
Does the paging system need to be replaced today?
The infrastructure is.
It runs on the backhaul of Sarah.
Oh, okay.
What are you guys using for pagers? Are they Unication?
No, they're digital Dycal pagers.
How many sites is your system?
9.
So there's 9 microwave hops?
There's 5 microwave hops and 4.
Are you using VHF or?
UHF.
Okay, so you're using radio as point to point. Okay. So yeah.
Well, the simulcast ring covers the 5 radio sites.
And then you have 4
The
additional.
other are basically repeaters.
I mean, yeah, we design systems, but yeah, we would have to design a VHF system.
Okay. And
Or
is it,
UHF.
do you have a digital option or is it voice paging?
For, we can, I'm trying to blank now. I have to check, double check on that.
Are you talking the automated that sends out? the
Yeah,
automated
so
voice
our
page?
CAD system basically takes the information and sends out a digital message, because we a lot of times only have one person in there and they can't talk on the page.
So when you have that automated voice that comes out.
Well, it's not even an
It's
automated voice.
just assigning them through the CAD.
Yeah.
So it's just an API to your CAD system.
It's hooked direct into Swisscom, so, and then it's a text.
Yeah, but we also get it on our phones.
Okay.
Yeah, that's totally separate.
Is that,
That's, I'm responding.
I am responding, okay.
That's the backup to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, again, those are things that, we can look at, but we design multiple different systems. I don't know if I'd have to understand your exact build.
So that kind of leads to, wouldn't an RFP make sense if we were doing something like this, so that Motorola knew exactly what it was that we needed? And obviously, any other vendor that wants to look at it to bid.
That's,
if you're gonna do a complete system replacement.
I mean, the way I look at it, I can come out and from a Motorola perspective, our engineers can educate everybody. From a competitive, somebody can do that. If you want to have somebody write a spec that says this is what we require and they do all the research and they do all of that's another option. So the way I look at it, you can force 2 vendors to do all the research for no cost and then pick the best one. Or you could pay somebody to do all the research because you have full-time jobs and it's, I mean, a new system is not you're not replacing a car, right? It takes a lot more. My dad was a general contractor. I look at it as building a building. You just don't pick up lumber and all of a sudden a building's assembled, so.
I did talk to the county attorney about this on Friday, and I asked him if we would have to do an RFP. And since they're not apples to apples, we're talking about refresh versus coming in all new, they would not have to have an RFP.
But wouldn't it make sense if we're doing a build out, that we would price 2 build outs and not? It's a different thing of like painting a house versus building a house. So we're talking about a refresh here, we're talking about a build here. Wouldn't it make sense to have refresh versus build out versus build out? I mean, there'd be really 3 products you could look at there. You could look at refresh, It'll be a refresh from Raycom or a build out from Raycom, a new build out versus a new build out from Motorola. Wouldn't those be your three options essentially that you're looking at?
Yeah, you could do that. And the way I look at it, you can also look at RFIs, so request for information, where you have somebody that gathers all that information. And if you get a consultant, there's two different ways consultants can work. They can do all the research side, the negotiation side, and then they can also sign an additional contract where they're there for the installation of everything. Today, you have towers, shelters, generators, so that piece is kind of, that's a major project, managing the construction. If that all exists, you can maybe skip that piece, right? Because that's kind of, it's there, you know, it's, you have, you're a landlord, you have somebody in the building, you're gonna put somebody else in the building. You don't need somebody to build anything. So it's something to look at. That's completely up to the county, and I will never say one way or the other on what that looks like.
I just don't see, so the reason why we have to do a rebuild is because some of the equipment that we have, like consoles, won't work on this new system. But why, if the refresh is gonna get us the next 10 years, why would I ask for probably a larger bid to replace things that apparently don't need to be replaced? Does that make sense?
It does. I just think that when you're spending this kind of money, you should look at all options. And
If you're gonna replace the whole system as a completely different process, you need a technical expert to evaluate it. We know what we have today and what works and what doesn't today. If we're going to switch to something different, we need someone who's a technical expert and so they can say, okay, Raycom says this antenna is gonna work, Motorola says this antenna is gonna work. Will it really work? Well, I'm not an RF engineer, I don't know that. So someone has to evaluate, and that person is on the side of the county, but we have to pay for that. If we're replacing what we have today, we already know what's in place today. So we know what things are there, and we also know the things that aren't getting replaced that may have to get replaced if we switch brands, essentially. None of us in this room are one way or the other on who we're with. It's just, we are trying to not go and build a whole new system again, because it costs a lot of money. Either way, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, either way, it's gonna be a lot of money. That's where we're just trying to weigh out all the options because, you
And
know,
unfortunately, I'm sorry.
competition is always good, right? I also see us maybe eliminating a tower site and saving money. I don't know. I don't have a magic 8 ball, neither do these guys, to know what's gonna come out of this, but reducing one tower, I would assume would save a little money.
We have to pick up new councils and everything else to.
But that's where I just would like, I'd like to just see. I'd like to know.
But then you're asking for, like what Rob said, to compare apples to apples.
How do you maintain coverage with a reduced tower?
Because they already had the tower there, it's a duplicate tower.
At the DOT site versus the yard site, they're duplicate basically.
But the yard site isn't our tower, first of all, so we don't own that site. That's a Alliant. The tower is owned by Alliant. We own the land. So we have to negotiate that with Alliant, whatever we do there.
Do you have a lease there today?
Yeah, it's an agreement. It just says we can have this equipment on there, and then if we ever switch it, we don't pay anything, but we
If
have
you switch it, you have to take
to
everything
do a
down.
new agreement, and yeah.
We own the land, they own the tower.
And then when they sold the land to them years ago, they never put anything in there that we could essentially have access to the site. We had to, in 2016, we had to put like $60,000 into their tower, so it would be loading.
In order to meet.
Which I'm sure most of these tower, the load testing is a whole nother thing. Now we're 10 years later on load testing. That's costs that are unknown, that last time was like $250,000 that we didn't know.
Yeah.
And we figured out how to still pay for it.
Yeah, that's something that, no matter what, I mean, if you're replacing all the microwave with us or the other, and you have to look at tower loading, because, you know, what worked in 2015 doesn't work in 2025 from, it's kind of like if you close a building down and then reopen it, that building's gonna be brought up to code. First, if you keep it moving and remodeling it, sometimes you can get away with certain
And
things.
currently all of our agreements say, you take one antenna down and put one back up in the same place, you're fine. But if you do anything more than that, you need a new agreement. So, and we own the Marengo Tower, that's it, the rest of them are all.
So your goal is, don't change heights is kind of where you're at.
Well, you'd have to get it all approved by their contract and their legal and all that. I mean, that's a whole consultant, project manager piece that has to go into all this. So,
Do you have like a price on what a consultant might cost the county?
when we called a couple here recently, the RFP piece and the needs assessment, they call it a mini needs assessment because we're already on P25, about 55,000. And then if you want to do project management, it's 3 to 5% of the project cost. So depending on where you're at.
Which I don't know if we would I mean, we don't need them to do the refresh, right? The project manager. So I don't know if we would need one to do either one, you know?
When you do a whole new system, you're gonna do coverage testing and sign off on things, sign off on equipment delivery, all these things. Like, this all happened in 2016, the same way that he's presenting is all the sites were built, put together. We went there, signed off on the staging, that everything worked before it moved to the sites. All these things the companies are very much the same in how they do their processes, right? It's just one has a different name than the other. So the process is the same. You just have to make sure that someone that's a technical expert can say, yes, this is the coverage that you're providing. And this is what you have to do. So in my opinion, yes, you still need it for that.
The higher one, the 3 to 5%.
I think you would need a consultant to do it. If you're gonna switch systems, I think you would want to entertain a consultant. And it protects the companies as well, because if something happens and now the coverage isn't there, they can say, well, your consultant said it was fine. Versus Joe Blow emergency responder said it was fine, and he's no longer working here, whatever, right? That's not, then they're like, well, we're holding the bag now.
Yeah, if you have a coverage requirement in the spec, then no matter what, whether it's a refresh or a new one, it has to be met. If it's not met, it's the responsibility of the vendor to find additional space, rework the system. So I'm just like yours, if you have a system today, it has a spec, you're gonna put new equipment on there, you'll have to retest to make sure the new equipment meets the old spec. So, or whatever the spec was at the time.
We currently have our county roads, our transportation on our system. Is that allowed on the state? Yeah, I didn't know that.
The radios will have to be replaced though, which we weren't planning to do.
They're not TDMA radios?
They're 10 years old. No, they're all DES radios. So they're all, well, hers aren't, yours are only 5. So hers might be okay, but the engineer, since they can't run outside of our footprint, we weren't going to replace them. But
Wouldn't their radios be able to work on our system if they're P25?
who's? The engineer?
Yeah.
The engineer's radios are, yes, they're P25, but they're end of life. So the other, Raycom was proposing to let us use them until they started to die. I'm doubting that a Motorola or the Essex board is gonna say, oh, you have radios that can't be maintained and updated. I don't think they're gonna allow you to just use them.
Yeah, we will let you use them.
Provided they're things too.
P25.
And that they can be updated to current firmware.
Well, as long as they meet the phase 2 specifications, they don't drag the top rooms down to phase 1, that kind of thing.
That's the issue.
Oh, they're not phase 2.
They're phase 2 radios, but they can't be brought up to the current, there's no firmware
Yeah.
update since 2022 for them. They stopped producing.
Yeah, I mean, other statewide systems, we have XTS radios running because they're FDMA, not PDMA, and they're manufactured in 2001. So, I mean, they still work on the system. You can't get updates on them, you can't do anything with them, but they push the top, which is.
Yeah, we don't as a state have a problem if you can't update your firmware as long as it's a phase 2 radio. So.
And then if there's no agreement for maintenance on that radio, you're fine with that as well?
Yeah, well, then it's kind of on you. If it dies, it dies, and then you're just kind of out, right?
Yeah, there's no force requirement that you have to maintain. I mean, it's encouraged you maintain your equipment, but there's no, you have to do X, Y, Z.
Right, we're providing the.
If a radio or somebody on this system causes some sort of problem, these system administrators can brick any ID on the system, shut off, shut down a radio so that it does not operate if there's a problem. If a radio is stolen, if a police car is stolen and we know the bad guys got the radio, they can shut it down. That radio that was in Cherokee, they shut the radio ID off until it was found. That's possible. So if there's a problem, yeah, we can shut it off.
But maintenance wise, if there's, you can't get firmware, the thing's just unreliable, it's kind of, whoever's using it is just kind of SOL, I guess, right? So.
Josh,
So much have changed.
didn't you say once or somebody I may have understood for each channel or something, there was another console?
That's if we don't have a core connected console and comm center. So if you stay on, say for instance, you go to Motorola infrastructure, you keep your Harris radio consoles, you have to have a radio for every talk group. So that'd be like whatever.
A lot of times when systems do that, it'll be anywhere from 10 to 12 consolettes. You can have them where they can, so you have I showed you a rack of equipment. You have an 8-foot rack of equipment and you have kind of the same mobile radios that are installed in a vehicle. It's just like some more, I don't know. That's
It's
what
like
you
a
put it.
VCR player.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just racked in there. Those are also recommended for backup, because if anything ever happened with you, I would assume you have consolettes today for backup.
We have,
Yeah, so you use them as your backup. The way if you're using Symphony with consolettes, you're basically in backup mode 24/7, the way it operates. So again, I don't encourage it, but we have systems all over the place using it, but it's not encouraged in my opinion. Good question.
I guess I'm just confused, which is not abnormal, but I'm a little confused. The Radio Governance Board came to you with a recommendation for a refresh of a radio system at X cost.
Mhm.
The concern was cost was too much.
Mhm.
We pared down what we were replacing and only replacing some things. Now we're talking about replacement of the whole system, and we think that's gonna be cheaper.
I don't know. Do you have a magic 8 ball?
Yeah, it won't be cheaper. The refresh of the system today isn't cheaper than building the system was last time. So building a new system now will not be cheaper than the refresh.
I don't know, or we can potentially eliminate a tower, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say fact says that they're, true here, I'm gonna say that I don't know, and I'm willing to listen to find out.
A new car today costs more than a new car did 10 years ago.
We're still replacing a lot of equipment and getting
You're
new
replacing a
stuff.
lot more if you go with a brand new system.
And the tower that we're replacing is one that we get to use for free.
Yeah, you're not paying anything for that tower.
That's where I was.
But that's
saving money.
equipment up top that we're not paying.
Okay, so you saved the microwave dish and a little bit of work? If we eliminated the Williamsburg site?
All the equipment that goes inside.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean.
A generator, a shed.
You're still gonna have to have your paging site there, so you probably don't want to have a paging site if you're gonna have it in the simulcast ring.
So actually you didn't eliminate a site.
You might eliminate the radio antenna. There's 2 antennas on there.
You eliminated a couple of antennas.
And it's part of the backhaul, right, depending on where your backhaul's going and how redundant you do. I mean, every single one of our towers is built to a redundant ring. So including dispatch, we have a redundant hop to the main tower. So everything has backhaul now. It just depends on how again, it's all system design. It's all what a consultant needs to do if you're gonna do this.
Agreed. None of us are experts in saying that we do or don't need that Williamsburg site on a new system, but maybe I'm oversimplifying it. It just seems like to me a system refresh is gonna be cheaper than a brand new system.
I think it's worth entertaining and, but I went back and watched or looked at the Iowa City Press Citizen article from the first time and it never looks like we did get a Motorola bid for a similar apples to apples because they couldn't turn around by that Friday.
There's something that you don't know there. We had a consultant, we had a date certain RFP. Motorola delivered an RFP. I have them here. I can show anyone who wants to see them. And it did not deal with paging. They missed the paging component. So they asked for an additional week to come back with a paging component. We granted it, which we thought, oh God, we're gonna get sued for that, but we did it. And Motorola did not come back with a proposal. So the opportunity was there, so we tried,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't get it. And the proposals are right here. I can show anybody who's interested.
I believe you, and I appreciate that information, but do you get what I'm saying? We've never had this chance to do this, and I think if we're gonna have a chance to do it, now is the time.
Motorola was able to help us out a little bit in saying that a paging system would probably add a couple of million to the site because of you're dealing with indoor coverage to firefighters who live wherever. And That would have taken it somewhere between 6.5 and 7 million at the time. So while we didn't have it in writing, we did have a verbal estimate to us. So that was something that the previous board operated under. So yes, we did not have it on paper. That's true.
Yeah, I can't believe building new would be cheaper than remodeling it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, again, unless we understood all of the components, the biggest components are the repeaters and the backhaul, which seems to be that they have to be replaced. Shelters, generators, towers already exist. That's civil today, cost the most. Steel, pre-manufactured shelters. The biggest would be the paging is the one I have a question mark, and I can't. I wouldn't even throw a dollar on it. I wouldn't do that.
Right. And the big selling point for the digital paging was, one, it was 25% of the cost of what Motorola had verbally told us. And the other side was knowing that it's very difficult for a single dispatcher to give voice pages while she's still on the phone and still on radio. It's very difficult. So it actually made us, we were able to dispatch ambulances a minute or two faster, because as soon as it comes off the cab, out it goes. We're not waiting for someone to speak into a mic. So it's an important facet to our dispatching needs.
Yeah, we don't have any paid career, besides law enforcement here. So the faster we can get that alert out, the faster we can get that moving.
100%. Yeah, because they're working there.
Yeah.
That's your CAD is it Central Square? What's your CAD?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a lot of API. I'm assuming it's an API into the paging system. So that's
it's through the firewall and cable to the.
Yeah. So that way you keystroke, boom, sends, it says XYZ, and then Z is the actual paging system that it does the work from there. So, and we could design, I'd have my end, I'm not around here. Right.
Yeah, it just goes back to the whole idea of having someone who's a technical expert put something together so you can bid from that, if you're going to do that process.
Hey, I will tell you guys that, you can page over the ISIC system.
With P25 paging.
Correct, and we do have counties that are doing that, using the coverage of ISIC to do the paging. Obviously, you probably have to go out and get unification pagers and supply everybody with those, but you can do paging. It doesn't have to be a separate system from this.
Right. I mean, you guys can, it's just the voice, the dispatching side is the thing that we have to figure out.
You can come up with your requirements and work with the vendors and all that. I'll just tell you that we have other counties that are doing paging over the P25 system.
Right.
So just be aware.
Well, and making sure you have 95% P25 coverage in building versus maybe 80%. Right. You're gonna follow the national standard.
I have a general question. So my understanding is the pagers, when you page a fire department or whatever, it goes to their phone, it texts them, right?
That's the backup system. There's a primary and a backup paging system. So we have digital pagers that they get. That's the primary. And then we pay for a program called I'm Responding. That's the secondary paging. So everything is redundant. So radios have redundancy, paging has redundancy.
And the reason for that is when you're dealing with volunteers, they might be outside our ring, but say like C60, every fireman, even if he was sitting in Des Moines, his pager wouldn't have gone off. So he wouldn't have known that this catastrophe was going on. So that extra coverage on I'm Responding gets that word out, even if they aren't in Iowa County.
But I'm Responding is not always on time.
If that cell provider's down, we don't get it.
Yeah, there's some
You can't guarantee.
providers that it won't happen you might get it days later.
Yeah.
So.
Like our staff also carries pager.
Yeah.
I was curious. Cause I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and the paging thing, and similar to the radio, if you're not into a statewide, or, like Sarah system has a footprint in the state of Iowa, right? By sharing counties' resources. ISIC, the state system, has a statewide footprint as well, right? If we just had our own standalone thing, we wouldn't be able to do anything, in theory, outside of Iowa County's authoritative boundary. Because the FCC says you can page and you can do radio stuff inside your boundary. Now, we can piggyback off of some of these other systems to allow for help to facilitate that coverage. And that's what we've used with the SARA system, and that's what ISIC is using for the statewide system, right? That's how the sheriff can drive to Des Moines and talk on his portable back to dispatch, because we're using the other people's infrastructure, similar to what you would do with the ISIC system. It's just, you're talking about basically the same systems, just different technologies, maybe newer stuff, whatever, a different name on the radio, right? And these guys know all the ins and outs and the bells and whistles of the radios. From my perspective, I need to be able to key up a radio that needs to talk. I don't care if I have, you know, GPS on my radio, whatever, right? It doesn't matter to me. I want to be able to have reliable communications. You know, there's other things like encryption and all kinds of other stuff that we have to talk about, and sharing of encryption keys with the other counties that we currently have, that we would have to know if we're able to do that. So there's all kinds of technical things that have to be decided and spelled out for a person to be able to give an accurate bid to what we want. And if you're gonna go that route, I don't see any other way than to have it controlled. And then you gotta deal with the timeline issue, because you're talking about 18 months, essentially.
Question I have is, the surrounding counties are on Sarah right now, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Basically, all of them, or?
Yeah, Keokuk County is still on VHF, but they have Sarah and ISIX capabilities. So they can, we have their radios in our, basically in the way we patch, so we can patch their VHF stuff into our system and communicate with them fine, but they're the only county that's left.
What does that do if you change? Will you be able to communicate with
It
them?
all has to be spelled out how the interoperability works. I mean, that's all.
Yeah, today how you operate with ISIX users would be the way you would operate with Sarah users. So it's just kind of reverse. Instead of, you know, operating on today's system, you either switch over a patch to the state. This would be you beyond the state. So anybody that's not in the state system, you'd patch or switch over to the other system.
That's what I was saying, like.
It's just backwards.
I gotcha.
That's where I was saying, like, right now, we patch in a very small amount of channels from the state system versus all these other counties that have 14 event channels and whatever else that we have native on our consoles now. So all that stuff has to be figured out of how that interoperability would work. And so, yes, there is a huge impact there.
So, but, okay, so if I'm at hospitals here after I was sitting on my portable, I can now talk back here to dispatch. I currently can't.
Probably not.
Yeah, there's a Cedar Rapids.
If you have indoor coverage from ISIX there.
Well, I'm talking currently.
Oh, currently today, yeah.
But on ISIC system, I necessarily wouldn't have.
Depending on what their footprint looks like there, I don't know.
Yeah, if I was on a, because we go to Cedar Rapids, I would see a lot of locations, but would I have radio communications on my portable?
The reason why that's important is because we have 2 ambulances staffed on a daily basis, right? So they get there might be another call, and they need to know, I gotta get back, hurry back, because I gotta take another call. Versus if I leave the system and I no longer hear anything.
And then remember that our pagers don't work outside of Iowa County. So,
You're relying on a cell phone.
which some of the staff choose to not have that option because they don't want to be bothered by it when they're at home. And so when they're in Cedar Rapids, if they don't have their radio on, then they're not gonna know, if there's another call, they need to hustle back or.
You have mobiles in all your.
In the trucks.
Yeah.
So the mobile coverage would carry you all the way through, and then inside the hospitals, there's sites in Cedar, there's a site right there in Cedar Rapids.
And
It would depend on the hospital, what hospital you're in, I mean.
Depending if the hospital had a BDA. is
Right.
there.
Right.
So I think that affects, no matter what system it is. So yeah, very important. I mean, goal is to stay connected, you never know what goes on.
I got a simpler question. Like, if we need to take a pager in to get fixed, or radio to get whatever in the shops in Lynn County, we can just run down there and grab that. Where would your shop be if we need to get something fixed? From the end user.
So we have a few different ones. There's some over in like the Quad Cities area. We have a field services technician who lives in Marion as well. And then we have obviously Des Moines shops, and we have people who are out on the road. Remote.
Sometimes I just want somewhere I can run.
Yeah.
Quick to get the part and get back. So I'm just curious.
Right now, that's where,
It's out by the airport.
Right now.
It's right.
Yeah.
Right by the airport.
It was out clear out Iowa. So I can get there in half hour and get back. So, curious.
And some of those, I mean, again, depending if you build a new system or buy new radios, having spares, spare batteries, spare chargers, spare antennas, that's also something that you should, no matter what you do, you should have, because you shouldn't have to even drive 30 minutes, you just switch it out. If it needs to be repaired, completely different story.
Usually it's like a speaker and a pager or something that goes up, you gotta get it, but it might just be a button. It's not often, we're talking 3 or 4 times a year.
Chris?
I've asked most of mine, so.
I got one more question. So how would it work, like, say we switch squad cars, or switch ambulances, switching radios over? Do they just come out on site and do that, or do we take those somewhere?
Generally, we set up, a lot of times we do big projects like this, whether there's we go to different like county fair buildings, we go to
I
the,
mean, just like I get a new ambulance, I just need to switch from one to the other.
oh yeah, we can send somebody out or you can bring it to the shops. It's all negotiated from that perspective. So a lot of times, a lot of people actually nowadays, they're sending the bricks and all the cabling to the,
Correct.
whether it's the rig or the engine, the ladder, et cetera, they send it out, they install everything, and then it shows up, and then you just have somebody local program it. That way you don't have to get a brand new vehicle and tear it apart. Squad's a little different, yeah, it depends who you use. So that's, you get all your squads done,
Whoever can do it.
who's ever available, it's not gonna take 12 months, right? So again, that's the easier one, the last thing you want is your light bars are working, everything's working, and then somebody's gonna come in, you know, tear the A-frame out, put everything up there, put it back, now your lights don't work, but your radio does. So.
You've been there.
I've been doing it for a while, I know the struggles. And that's something we can also look at too from a shop perspective. I have a couple different areas where people are looking to grow. So they're, you know, that's all, and again, that's all, nothing could happen, like to your point, right? But that's just, there's quite a few big vendors out there that are looking to expand their footprint of Motorola sales because we do offer so many different things, whether it's cameras, body cams, radio systems, you know, across the board. That's,
Okay, back to you. Any more questions?
No more questions, more comments than anything. I guess I want to clarify for the public and for everybody in this room, the goal of this was not to say that we're going to change. The goal of this was not to undermine anybody through this process. It was to hear out all of the options. So let's make that clear. And to dispel a lot of the rumors that have been spread online, in emails, the letters that have been written to us, the fact that it disturbed people that we were looking into all of the options and when we're talking a multi-million-dollar bond did not faze me. It does not faze me. And I just want to say we are doing our due diligence, whether the board agrees to go forward with them or not. This was part of it, and this is just part of making a good, sound decision because ultimately, it's us 5 that are going to be on the ballot and representing this decision. That's all I have to say.
Okay, can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Okay, because I absolutely appreciate that you do that. What has been the problem, and I think is what most of people's comments have alluded to, is that this 10-year line where has not moved. It has been there. And everything we're doing now is awesome, but it would have been exceptionally awesome had we done it 12 to 18 months ago. Doing it at month 10 is just too late, in my opinion. I don't know how you do all these things. I think even a refresh is going to be challenging at this point because we haven't even had the go-ahead. There's no equipment on the way, nothing's happening. So I absolutely agree with everything you said. I think the only issue was the timeline was bad.
Did anybody reach out to anyone in our county before I responded? Did anyone from Motorola?
I talked to Kelly Milligan, who's the sales rep for Motorola radios and stuff, like in December of 24 about this, some of this stuff. He gave me a radio price. At that time, there was no discussion to switch completely to a whole different infrastructure. So the question was just about what the radios cost. And that was the extent of it. And that was the Radio Governance Board's request. John I think Kevin, you might have still been on the board when we were doing that to begin with. And then John came in and we clarified, got the pricing, we moved forward, with those numbers, and then compared them to what we were getting from the Raycon group. So that's the extent of what the reach out to Motorola was, and that is up to until now. Because there was no discussion about completely taking the system, what we have that's good, and going some other direction. So I think that's where we are.
So I just hope that you guys can understand, the RGB never did look into this, which I'm not pointing fingers and saying shame on you, right? But this is where I think this should have been done with them. I'm not, I know we can't go back 12 months from now, but this is something that obviously I thought was a good option, and Rob, you agree now, and maybe it should have been done with them back in the day.
And it was always a discussion out at radio governance. It always has been. And we've always looked at what do we want to do with refreshing versus do we go out and build? We have enough radio knowledge to know that a build is expensive, and we know that price is everything. And so we're trying to, that's why we want to keep older radios. That's why we want to not buy things we don't need to buy and replace pagers and things like that. So it wasn't done in a vacuum. That those things were discussed all the time. That's why the board of supervisors has a place on that other board to be part of that conversation the entire 10 years of that contract. So this didn't just come up now. It's always been talked about.
But never pursued.
No, because of the expense, what we thought was obvious expense.
We don't know though.
I have a darn good idea.
Okay.
Just knowing what we spent the first time and
Yeah.
knowing what has happened to pricing since then. I don't believe anyone in this room is going to tell us that radios have gone down in price since 2016. So as I've mentioned before, I love Motorola. I grew up in Motorola. Everything I ever touched in the radio was Motorola. It was a big deal for me not to carry one. So it's never anything about Motorola. It's just long-term planning that has been done that has kind of switched gears here in the last 3 or 4 months. And that's the problem that we're facing right now. Not, is it a Motorola radio or is it a Harris radio? It's, what's our timeline?
So my issue with timeline, I understand, right? But my issue is to totally disregard to another option because of the timeline doesn't feel right. At the end of the day, but just hear me out. Is there a way to not do a 10-year with Raycom, but keep our current infrastructure and ask for a maintenance agreement for another year or something, an extension? And then get a consultant in here and then get that apples to apples bid that we just talked about, would that be an option?
I'm not going to speak for anyone other than my gut would be yes, at a very high price. And because you're asking someone to be able to keep, we had this in our legacy system. We had transmitters breaking down. Thank God Lynn County had done away with their system. We were literally using parts, just like the state was using parts to keep LEA going. And that's what kept us on the radio. Way back then, I came to the board with we have the last piece of equipment there is. And I asked the board, I think for $100,000, just put somewhere, because I really thought we knew if we had a failure, we'd have to reach out to surrounding counties to do our dispatching for a while, because our radio would have gone down. So that was a long way of going and saying that the timeline, while it'd be easy to say, yeah, we should disregard it, it's a real thing. And to have, I don't know what Motorola would say to us if we were on the Motorola system right now and they're at end of life on their equipment, but we want them to guarantee that you're going to keep our radios running after end of life. What is that price? It's a rhetorical question. I wouldn't expect you to come up.
No, I agree. I think the way any vendor is going to respond is say, yes, we can extend your maintenance. Yes, it'll cost more, but we can no longer guarantee.
Right.
Because if a part doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. So I think that's what I would say. I'm assuming that's what your other vendor would say. I mean, the only thing we can do is we can expedite, a process of reviewing, right? But we need buy-in, right? I mean, you guys would have to say, this is what we're looking for, this is what we're trying to do. And then at some point, again, if no one wants to say like, hey, I understand to this level, and I don't want to put my name against it, that's what you guys would have to call that out and say, we need somebody to review. But we could do a lot of the work, as far as, we can come out, we can look at the sites available, we can look at, you can go to database, you can see every tower in the county. Like, that's not difficult. We can see who owns the towers. We can say, okay, are they public safety friendly, or are they gonna charge you $4,000 a month, right? I mean, those are easy things that we know we can pick up quickly. State-owned assets, I try to avoid water towers if possible, because when you paint them, you tear everything down. There's a lot of different things that we could do, but again, if the team as a whole, if it isn't comfortable, then they would have to have some sort of somebody there to review and do it. So either appoint somebody as far as the board goes, you ask for outside help, after the state, again, that's, they are not Motorola, right? I mean, they manage a statewide radio system. So I don't know what your guys' capabilities are. I know it's.
We let the locals handle the local business.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yes.
That's kind of why I brought it up. But yeah, no matter what, I guess the statement is we're here if needed. I believe technology's changed a lot. We are investing a lot in our company. So as far as public safety goes, Motorola as a whole is investing a lot in the latest radio technology. There's a lot of different vendors out there. I get that. I work for Motorola for a reason. I think it's, the best company out there. We put out the best products, and from a longevity perspective, that's why I stay where I'm at.
Any other questions from the board? You guys have questions, Josh, Rob, Adam? Anybody?
I would just say one thing, if you do go that route and have something to look at for Motorola, remember that group of people that are ISIX users that could help you. I don't think they can say anything about costs and anything like that, but they can say, don't forget this piece, or I just put up a system and I wish I would have done this. Reach out before you get to that point, and I can give you the latest agencies to just build. Motorola can give you that, the names of the people, and if you do go that route, you should talk with them before, whoever they are. There's different counties that have just completed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do for.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Guys, thanks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like coming up here. I don't know everybody, but this is the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, you're good.
Oh, you're fine.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, thank you.
More water.
Okay, now we'll go back down to radio system discussion considerations. Opinions?
I took some notes on what concerns me. Of course, here's John. Yes, John, you're back on.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Hear me?
Nope, can't hear you. Yes, I can. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
So we're just talking about right now what we're kind of thoughts. My biggest one is time. Absolute, the biggest thing I got on my sheet. Next thing was price of an extension. If we would entertain that, I think that would be astronomical. The paging part concerns me also, that was with firefighters, most things, I think there was our problems. And then, of course, the cost of a tech expert. So those kind of my thoughts.
Does John have opinions?
John, you got any opinions?
Well, my opinion is, I just don't see how a complete build out would be cheaper than a refresh. And this board, the governing board started this before I was on. Kevin, you were on it before me. You started your options and you went and rolled with the refresh with the opinion that you just assumed, and I understand Abby's side there, you know, maybe they should have looked at both options, but I think respectively, with their expertise and building the system in the first place, they knew that that option was probably going to be way more expensive and just to roll into with the refresher. And I know the refresher is a lot more expensive, but that's my concern. I just think the refresher is going to be a lot more, and I agree with trying to get an extension, if they would give us an extension. And then if they did give us the extension, is the refresher price going to be the same price after that? That's up in the air. I really appreciate Abby's concern about being due diligent, and I know that that's what her intentions are, and I don't have any disrespect towards that at all.
All right, Abby, you're next.
I'll go last.
I agree with basically everything Chris and John said. I mean, my concern is the timeline. I trust Rob and the sheriff and the sheriff's department and.
Can you move the phone down by south side?
Here, I'll hold it up.
I trust Rob and his opinion, and it just worries me about, I agree with Abby, like the due diligence, but I just worries me about the cost. If we would ask them, I mean, I know what I would do if I was them. I would probably charge pretty good money, so that's my opinion.
My opinion? I'm refreshed. I can't believe anything new is gonna be cheaper than a refresh. The coverage map it looks sketchy in areas. I don't think we'll save any money because we have to buy new consoles. And the time frame, and I think that the governance board did their research.
Well, obviously, you all know where I stand. I'm gonna disagree respectfully to you all. When I go back and watch the meeting once again, we're told that, things are end of life, and they're saying 400 out of the 600 radios are the firefighter radios. And those are the things that are end of life. And in that same meeting, I believe we were told that those radios are approximately $200 or $2,000 a piece. So we'd be looking at like $800,000, right? If every one of them just magically went out, which I don't believe will be the case on their first day of the 11th year. And so I see ways to kind of ride this out, even maybe without Raycom's maintenance per se on the radios. I think I have a lot of concern in general about the maintenance portion of their bid, because for $200,000 to $300,000 a year, we could buy a lot of radios brand new, which we're already paying for it in that. And so on the maintenance end, and I know it does towers. I know we talked about antennas and we talked about microwaves and consoles and consolettes and all the things. But I just have a hard time. It's almost like an extended warranty for a vehicle. And I think most of us agree a lot of that's kind of a scam. And I just have general concern. And I'm not saying anything bad about Raycom. I'm not saying anything that we are getting taken advantage of, but this is what generally caused my concern. And so this is why I reached out and reached out back to Motorola and was looking at the other option. And I think honestly with the state and their regulation, especially with the PSAPs, joining the state system might not be bad. I have really big concerns about if we do the $6 million bond and then the legislature decides to accept the DOJ request to consolidate these. And what did we just spend $6 million for? And I will say this, I will support your decision either way, but The one thing I will fight is doing anything beyond 10 years on that bond, because I'm not gonna saddle the next board with the issue that we're sitting with now. I know it's gonna be expensive, but we're gonna have to find ways to cut, and if we do pass this, I encourage us all to sharpen our pencils and find ways to cut. We're gonna have to find something.
Okay, like I said, no disrespect to you either, I wish we would have started this a year ago, or better. So we knew it was coming, I guess. But in the same breath, I don't wanna, like I said, with that extension, I'm not willing to roll the dice with our county's public safety either. Say if something, if they do go magically dead, I'm not, like I said, they probably wouldn't, but I'm just not willing to risk that, I guess.
And I would say we buy them, that's what I would suggest, we'd just buy the radio that we're gonna do anyways through this loan and save interest, but.
Any more? Anybody want to do anything? Are we gonna table this? Are we gonna make a motion?
I think just from the timeline, they need to get the okay.
We keep kicking the can, so we gotta. do
Yes,
something.
and that can's gonna be 2 weeks, it'll be almost 3 weeks later now if we don't do it today.
Yeah, we don't need to.
Or,
Next week is Thanksgiving.
yeah. That's fine. I'll make the motion to go for ACOM.
Is there a second? I'll second that.
Here's John.
Did you vote on it?
No, we're getting ready to. We got a motion and a second on the floor.
Well, hold on a second.
Okay.
Your motion states to go.
Motion takes to go with the Raycom refresh.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion approved. The finance consider an obligation bond for the radio. Let's leave that on for the next time.
I'm gonna push that
You
back.
okay with that?
Yeah, that's gonna be an animal. Are you guys in the agreement? Are you guys willing to do the 15-year?
I
Do I need to
understand,
have
I
hydrogen?
understand where you're coming from, but I'm still on the 15 just to do the fact that how much it's gonna jack.
I know, but you kicked the can down the road to us the last time, and now we're
You're
gonna do it to them, yeah. I don't wanna do it to the next
Well,
board.
if everything goes,
Maybe 2 boards yet.
if everything goes right, you will be here the next time.
I'm not gonna do it the next time, no. No.
Well, you kick the can.
I will not be here no matter what.
That's my only
Never say
concern.
never.
No, I will not.
Maybe be a comeback story.
No. Absolutely not.
It's another fancy word for
Yeah,
I've had enough of this. It's been fun enough.
reincarnated story or something.
that. Revival tour,
Revival tour, that's it.
Okay, so in 2 weeks, we'll have number 8 still on the agenda. Is there anything else at this time we want on the agenda for 2 weeks? All I put back on there was number 8 about the financing.
I kind of lost you guys there the last few minutes.
We're talking about what we want on there for next week.
Anything you want on for next week, or 2 weeks, 2 weeks?
Kevin kicking the can down the road.
Not just kicking the can.
What do you use?
Maybe it's better than kicking the bucket.
What's what you using?
I don't have anything.
Yeah, me kicking a can harder than you think.
Think about it.
You got it, okay.
I'll make a motion
Motion
to
to
adjourn.
adjourn,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Hey, John, you got it. Have fun in Florida. What's the temperature down there?
Are you off now?
Yeah, turn it off.
What's the temperature?
You wanna see that? That's like.
Here, just a second.